Hey guys, welcome to Up Past Midnight, episode 2. We don't know what we're going to call it yet. Welcome back. Glad you guys clicked that like, subscribe button. If you did, if you didn't, thank you. I'm Ali. She is.
I'm Delmarie.
As always. We're back. We were jamming just a few minutes ago off camera real quick, and we have a lot of stuff to talk about with E3. And Del's going to go into a few rants. We've made a list, so we'll do the best we can to discuss it. Let us know how the audio sounds. I'm wearing AirPods. She's got her thing on. So we're going to dive into it. We were just jamming about some good stuff. So I said, hey, let's start. So what do you have to lead off for E3 on your list?
So for E3, a lot of new games that are coming out. A lot of remasters, too, that I'm noticing. Just kind of sequels and threequels and quadruples, basically, because Metroid 5 just got announced. But the thing is, they didn't drop any gameplay. It was a cool trailer, but I was just like, I mean, they did mention it's going to be a side scroller, so I'm kind of like, okay, all right. Probably not like the newer or the newest Metroid, where it was a little more 3D. But definitely intrigued, even though I'm not the biggest Metroid person. I'm not gonna lie.
Like, it looked the graphics looked really good. Yeah, I was watching Metal Jesus Rocks. I want to give a shout out to him because I followed him at IGN about a couple of days ago. Me and Del were just trying to get this together, and he talked about it and stuff like that. The graphics look really good. Apparently, the developer, he kind of spoke on it like, hey, like this looks familiar. This is before. Apparently, it's the same developer from the last. I'm like, oh wow, so they're really rebuilding from the ground up. So that's cool that they're going back to the roots and finding something new for that one. I mean, not a big Metroid fan myself, but it did look badass where I would play it. So, but it all comes down to financials first. So.
Also true.
At the end of the day, it's like, what games do I buy? What games do I eat or do I play?
Also, what kind of games do you generally play as well? Because just because you like how a game looks doesn't mean you're going to play it necessarily.
No, and we have a crap ton of titles that we literally have, and we need to kind of play a lot of those. Our list is just getting longer and longer as we go through it daily. We're like, what do we have? Well, she's got over 400 titles. I got over 300 titles, so some haven't been played yet. So it sucks when you're an E3 fan and you're like, what's new? Sadly, it looks like it's going to be a 2022 release to 2023. A lot of developers sadly have said, hey, we're trying. We've been hacked, especially with CD Projekt Red and stuff like that's been hacked. But maybe next year, it looks like it's going to be a good year. It's just going to be a lot of waiting this year. So we probably won't see a lot of games drop until December, January.
There's going to be some games, but not like too many games that I can see that are going to be stellar. Because I know a lot of people have been waiting for that Breath of the Wild content, and unfortunately that definitely got 2022'd, not 2021.
Everything got 2022. It's like, hey, come next year. It's like, oh, damn. Which I think it's like we saw, like you just mentioned in the beginning, everything seems like it's getting remastered. I think a lot of developers are just kind of taking the easy way out. I don't know. That's just my opinion, but I don't know.
We still got some good games to look forward to. I don't know if you saw the trailer for the Guardians of the Galaxy game.
I did. I just watched. I was a little busy, so me and Del were just kind of going through some trailers. It looks like it's going in for Switch. I don't know if I played on Switch.
No, it's multi-platform because there's pre-orders already out even for PS4, and I looked at it. The only thing that's holding me back for that one is the fact that they did confirm that it is a single-player game and you only play as Star-Lord, which bummed me out real hard.
I mean,
because it's like you give me a really cool-looking Gamora and you tell me I can't be Gamora. Like,
it's like playing freaking Avengers, man. Everybody's been, really pissed with that because now it's.
I like Avengers.
Well, I mean, they're saying, I looked at that too, and I played a little bit of when I played on the PS Now thing, and the story I started playing, I loved it, and then I was like, oh man, my PS Now ran out, so I might re-grab it and replay it, but sadly the player base is dying out, and it's so hard to rank up, and it's just great idea. It's just that they're really killing it.
They kind of killed the franchise like right off the gate because the problem with that game was they delayed a whole bunch of the DLC And when they threw out the game, it was a very short game.
Yeah.
And the DLC, they were like, yeah, it's free, but it kept getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. And that's what kind of killed most people's interest in it, because once they were done with, the main storyline and stuff, it was just kind of like this waiting game of, okay, now what? Never mind, I'm no longer interested. Next best thing came out.
I mean, what kind of looks like it's going to be?
They kind of buffed up things, yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I saw a lot of young, and he's kind of went down the rabbit hole with that. And my one friend was like, you need to buy it. And I'm like, dude, I can't afford it. Like, Kevin, you got the clues. Like, get me a copy. I'll play it. But then when, our friend Vance started playing with Dell, and Dell was like, you're going to get it? I was like, I don't know, because I have so many to play. I mean, I like the story where it was going.
It's going down. You could probably afford a copy later on.
I mean, it's like $20 now. I mean, I'm pretty sure I can grab a copy, but I'm not really into the play to win thing. I don't like loot boxes. So that's kind of
well, that's the thing. The loot boxes aren't necessary. You get really good,
but the grind is real
drops. You get really you get good drops if you keep up on it. Because me and Vance would get some good drops, and we wouldn't really have to grind that hard. At least at that point. I haven't played in months, so I really couldn't say what it looks like right now. I only
grabbed it because when I got the PS5, I got the PS Now. I guess they got thrown in my subscription because apparently it was a GameStop purchase. So when I got it, I had Miles Morales come with it and an extra controller because that was like my biggest thing. If I'm going to spend that kind of money for a PS5, I might as well just grab it, because now people, even with Sony just announcing again, they're saying, hey, it's going to look like it's 2022 to 2023. And I'm like, oh, crap. So people are like, hey, where'd you get that PS5 from? Like eBay, or like, how much was it? I'm like, I beat a guy out by $5. I paid $830 for it. He's like, what'd you get with it? I'm like, I got an extra controller, so which I highly recommend for those who get a PS5 or an extra, console. Get an extra controller because you'll thank yourself later. But it's it's like when everybody was playing it and I played it, and I liked the story of it, what it was, but I was like, yeah, and then like my thing ran out, and I was like, I wanted to get right back into it, but I was like, the grind is real. And I played that Destiny stuff too, and I'm like, I'm not that grind right now. Especially when I have nobody else to play with, like you weren't really playing and somebody else. I like the camaraderie of gathering. So it's like, I love single player, but I also love playing with friends if it's available.
Yeah, I kind of fell out of it for a little while. I haven't even finished story mode, which is a shame because I love it. It was good story mode. But now with the Wakanda stuff coming out, I might be picking it up soon again.
And so many people think it's going to be like, that's going to be like a cash grab. Hopefully it saves it, but no guarantees. Hawkeye didn't do crap. So,
well, if you're in it for like all the outfits, it is a cash grab at times, and not even a cash grab. It's just more like a grind grab, a really hard grind grab.
Yeah, it's like a D2, man.
Unless you want to spend that cash.
It's gonna really grind. I mean, I'm hoping
because I grinded enough to get like one or two okay costumes, but I'm just like, costumes are costumes. As long as my character is leveled up to where I need them to be, whatever at this point.
I think that was the biggest complaint that I've heard from like Young and a few other channels that said like, it's hard for players to get into it because like you really have to level up your character, and it takes time to unlock a whole entire move list, which is like a pain in the ass because you really want to feel like you're that character. And I'm like, that kind of sucks. Like, I get it. You got to grind to like unlock, power ups, stuff like that. But when it's a whole day grind thing, it just kills me.
Okay.
And I feel what he's saying. So, I mean, the player base has dropped. Hopefully, with, Guardians, it's not made by the same developers. So that's a great thing. And it looks like it's going to be a really good game. But single player, it is what it is. I mean, you still might love it. The story pulls you in.
Yeah.
Hopefully. So we'll see.
I mean, we'll see if they can pick it back up, just because they did announce the Wakanda stuff recently. So we'll see if they can pick the gameplay back up, maybe get more interest in it, but no guarantees.
Yeah, it seems like it's going to be like a week, 1 day play thing, and then boom, boom. So somebody else just told me, I'm like, that sucks. But we went down, like I said, the list of stuff that we picked. Was it Tale or Trek of Yomi? I like that one. That one was pretty badass. I mean, that like a side scroller kind of thing with this ninja thing. I like that. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, that one hit you more, definitely. I saw it and I was like, okay with it, but it's not my thing.
I like the Nora.
It did look good though.
the colors look. That's what grabbed me, the color and the art design, and then like okay, like this and this. That one looked really cool. I think another one.
I think that Tales one is riding on the coattails of Neo, probably.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's not too surprising that it's coming out.
We also did get an announcement that we're playing now, which was Plague Tale Innocence is getting another game. So
Requiem,
I'm playing that right now. Requiem.
Mm-hmm. I am both intrigued, but also I have so many questions.
Yeah, and that's the thing. There's not much. There wasn't much there in the trailer. It was just a cinematic. Mm-hmm. Mm. You excited for that?
Oh God, yeah. I mean, the ending for the first one was very open ended. So it kind of left me wondering, and I had hoped there would be a sequel, but yeah, I had hoped there was a sequel, but there was like no guarantee because again, it was so open ended. It could have just laid to rest there.
But with the developer, like the problem is the game do phenomenally well because people have been sleeping on it, but now it like went down in price. So I got it on sale like a week ago, 2 weeks ago. Had a little bit of cash laying around, so I was like, I gotta get this game because like I went under Dell's thing. I checked. I'm like, she played this, and sure enough, she did. She's like, how dare you, rude! You check my stuff. I'm like, yo, I just gotta make sure, like, if I have it, I don't have to buy it, but I should buy it. So, and then I
have the physical copy.
Yeah, so I jumped in and played, and so far it's good. I'm kind of cheating. I went back and I'm following a guy's collectible tutorial so I can go through. He's not spoiling the game. He's just telling me where all the damn collectibles are because I'm like, I just got done with Last of Us 2, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not going back and doing all this crap. So as I play, let me just do it as I go. And so far, like I got a few of the achievements. I'm like, all right, bueno, did it. I'm there.
Oh my gosh.
What's another game that you kind of picked you? Any three?
Oh God. So definitely, definitely Somerville was one of those that like popped up at me. Like the second I saw it, I just kind of went, huh. Interesting. And it's because I like those kind of unique indie story driven sort of games where it's like a survival family instead of like, because again, it reminds me of the game Inside, and I'm pretty sure it might be by the same people, not 100%. Don't quote me on that. Didn't do that kind of research.
Yeah, we didn't really need to sound too much.
But it looks very similar in terms of like graphics and like the color palette and things like that. But this time it's like a whole family. Basically, apparently, that you have like a husband and a wife and the dog and the kid. And I was like, oh, this might be good in terms of narrative because I, you know me, I'm a sucker for a narrative game. There's also, I want to say the Nier Mobile game, definitely.
Yeah.
Like I told you before, I already registered for that thing on my phone, so the second it drops, it's on my phone. I'm playing that.
Yeah,
you won't see me.
I'll see you. I'll be like, hi. You'll be like, hey.
I'll be on Discord, and all you'll see from my like stream stat is like Nier, like currently playing Nier.
Yeah.
Will not answer anything.
It looked pretty cool. I pumped it. That's one thing I picked out when I was watching Metal Jesus Rock's channel. He popped that up, and I was like, or no, IGN popped it up, and I was like, ooh, interesting. Yeah. Not big on mobile myself. I have a couple games on mobile, but I'm like either that or the Nintendo Switch or PlayStation or PC for me. So that one looks like
the other one definitely was Shin Megami Tensei 5. Just because I'm a huge Shin Megami / Persona person. And I only ever got the opportunity to play 2 of the previous Shin Megamis because if you are part of the Shin Megami community, you know these games are tough. These are grinds, and I mean like hella grinds, but the stories are amazing. So I already saw kind of like a Nintendo Treehouse where they were actually doing some gameplay on it, and it looks decent. It doesn't look bad. I'm just hoping that we get a little more of the story as opposed to like kind of how the battle system is going, which again, very, very kind of it's on par basically with what Shin Megami is. You either get, the character fighting, or you do this whole Pokemon-esque thing where you gotta hire monsters to help you, and then probably you can evolve them and like that. Which I'm kind of over that Pokemon aspect of things.
Yeah, I think
they'll make it fun.
I think every game, like all these mobile games now, and all these other games, like let's kind of make it like a Pokemon Go kind of thing, and it seems to be the norm now. I'm like, why? Like, what the hell? I never got into Pokemon Go. Everybody at work was like walking in the walls and like trying to go things. So I see what she's saying. It's like, but I don't know.
Good Lord.
Hopefully it gets better. But that sounds like a badass game. Did you want to talk about was it Slit?
Which one?
Slit or Silt?
Silt was okay. Again, it's very Darkwood, Subnautica, Limbo, but it terrifies me. So I think that's going to be one of those games where I watch somebody play it as opposed to actually doing it myself.
Looks like it's going to be me because that one really grabbed my eyes. And I'm like, ooh, hello. What is
I might watch you play it then if you decide to play it.
I'll definitely grab a copy of it. And then there's another one that I saw. It's called Far Lone Sail. It's kind of like an indie game. I guess you're side scroller kind of thing. And that one looked kind of neat. I don't really know all of it. I just kind of saw it from Game Ranks Presents. They had it on real quick, and it looks really, really cool. So we'll pop the trailer for that.
Okay.
So you guys can see that. That looks really, really neat. I just picked up a lot of indie titles because I'm like, okay, Battlefield's coming out. This one's coming out. All right, cool. A lot of 22 releases, whatever. Death Stranding got announced. Hideo, obviously, is Hideo.
Yeah.
And he's doing a director's cut. So everybody's guessing it's not really a director's cut because it's his game. So it's like, let's add more crap to it. So I'm like, all right, well, they better put that in a DLC because I ain't buying a new copy.
I like Death Stranding, but it got a little tedious after a while. It was just post-apocalyptic Amazon Prime delivery boy.
Yeah. I mean, I like to have, like, I was trying to explain to somebody, and they're like, wait, what do you mean it's online? I'm like, well, wait a minute. So I just walked here, and now it's making a trail for me. And like, I left the game for like, I think 24 hours or whatever. And I didn't go back to this one thing, and it like, the rocks regrew, and everybody's like, wait, what? How the hell does that? I'm like, it's online, dude. The game evolves with you, and it evolves with other players. You're like, you don't know each other's there. I'm like, no, you really don't. I mean, I was getting killed by something, and somebody threw me an ammo box. Like, their dead body came up and threw me an ammo box. So I was like, cool. And I was trying to show it to a friend. They're like, okay, that's getting weird. That was a player? I'm like, that was a player that threw me an ammo box. Like, that's strange. I'm like,
it's an okay game. I don't know if I would want to pay for a director's cut or actually care that much.
No, I'm curious what it's going to be. I mean, I'm going to play it either way because I like Norman Reedus, and Mads was amazing in it. So I was like, for those who don't know, Mads actually ended up getting, he's now in the new Harry Potter thing. So he's taking over Johnny Depp's role. So I'm like, okay, whatever. Good actor. He was a really sweetheart guy. So.
I think the only other game really that caught my eye was the new Life is Strange True Colors, but that's because I'm a huge fan of the series. And I really like those kind of narrative choice-making games where whatever decision you make is going to affect the narrative later on.
Yeah, I mean, I dug the first one. I dug the second one. Didn't play the third one.
Which is the third one is True Color. You might be talking about the prequel.
Chloe's version. So there was 1, 2, and then the dude and his brother.
No, so the one that you think is 2 is actually, I believe it's Beyond the Storm is what it's called.
I guess.
And that is Chloe. Chloe's it's Chloe's prequel. Yeah. So it's Chloe before Max comes back.
Yeah.
So it's what happened to Chloe and her friend that, they were in love and things like that. So it was like Chloe's plans before Max showed up.
Right.
So that's not considered a sequel. Or like it's not considered part 2. It's not considered Life is Strange 2. It's like a 1.5 basically.
So nothing's canon.
But then Life is Strange 2 would be the 2 boys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which I ended up watching that through a video because I was like, I didn't have the money. And I'm like,
the 2 brothers.
Who's gonna buy this? Like, I'm not gonna sit down and buy a game. So there's a thing called YouTube. So I'm like, I'll watch it on that. And it was really good. I mean, I enjoyed it. I was like, don't know if I'd still buy it, but the new one looks really interesting.
I mean, they drop in price pretty quickly normally, so it's not that big a deal.
I mean,
so I can probably wait for True Color. Because I did the same thing with Beyond the Storm. I got it for like dirt cheap when it came out.
I would wait because like when Life is Strange 1 came out, you had to get it was a thing where you had to wait like a month for the next episode. So you beat it and you're like, hey, when's the next episode? I'm like, oh, it's coming out in like a month. You're like, wait, what? They're like, oh yeah, we're not done yet. It's like, wait, no, this isn't like. They're like, oh, well, you had to buy the next level. They were like, let's kind of heck with you.
Well, they did have the option where you could buy the bundle, and it was all of them.
Yeah, which I did. So,
which I think they did for the second one too. I can't remember.
No, I don't remember if it was like an all-in-one thing or.
I think they did. I think they did at some point, and I got it, and then I just downloaded all the other episodes because the first episode I got it for free when I think it was on the Plus, and then it was like, okay, let me buy all the other episodes when they go on sale, and then I did that.
Well, the first episode for Life is Strange 1, they ended up doing, I think it was for free. It was like, hey, try the demo out, and then you get it for free, and then they kind of suckered you in. It's like, oh, you want more? Yep. Want more? All right, well, guess what? $20 bucks, get you the whole season. And
let's be real, that's what all games do. But that's the thing now. They just sucker you in to like, buy more.
Buy more. Let me get
you want DLC. More? Buy it.
Yeah, I liked the new character. I didn't get to see much of the game. I just saw the remaster was coming, and I'm like, this is cool. Don't know if I'm gonna get a copy. I know you definitely will. So,
eventually. Maybe depending if there's anything new, then maybe. Because I did love Life is Strange, but if I've already got the copy, unless there's new content that's like detrimental to the story.
I think they're just updating the level design and just
honestly, I might skip out on that just because I've got the game and I've got the soundtrack and that's all I really cared about.
Yeah, soundtrack was badass. Like all the
the soundtrack is still good. I still listen to it.
Badass, yeah.
It's good.
Phenomenal. What else? Any other ones that you grabbed your eye or you?
I was surprised that they've decided to go with making a new Fatal Frame after so many years.
That one, I had to look that up, and everybody was like, "What is it?" I'm like, "It's this ghost game."
I knew what it was. I knew what like the second it started showing up on the screen, I was like, wait, I know this game." And then I see the whole like, oh, it's ghosts and you have a camera. And I'm like, wait, isn't this the premise of Fatal Frame? And then they finally announced, oh, yeah, it's the new Fatal Frame. And I went, why after literally PS1 era game?
It's that time though. Like, I think like we just said, like all these developers, it's been a rough year for a lot of them.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, let's bring back some nostalgia. Like it's hard enough for us. Well, COVID was a thing, and obviously, and a lot of game developers are like hurting because they're all working from home. It's like let's remaster because like it's hard to number one get all these developers to work or what have you. But it's like it's a year of like remasters and like let's pull the dust off this title. Let's review it.
I don't know, man. Some of them, I guess, some developers are hoping that older titles, depending on what the title is, they will kind of appeal to newer audiences. But then that also raises the question, are some developers running out of ideas?
Yeah, it kind of feels like that Hollywood idea. Like it's like, that was it 2016 or 2017 where it was like remake, reboot.
Well, they're still doing it nowadays. They're still taking old concepts and then just adding new things to it. For example, Cruella.
The only remake that I want, and I've already been vocal about it, like Metal Gear Solid 1 remake, because like the two indie developers are working on like a remaster. I was like, that's the only reason why I want, because it's nostalgia, and I want to see it like in HD, like real built, And everybody's like, see, that's the only game you want. I'm like, kinda. I'd like to replay it. I'm a huge fan.
Yeah.
But like I don't know what this remastered crap. It's just so much.
It's a thing. It's a thing. I mean, it's becoming a trend. It's like the old is new again, or it's back in style. Because how many shows have we not seen come out with new sequels, like Saved by the Bell, for example? Cruella was a movie that came from like an old, like a spin-off, basically prequel to 101 Dalmatians and things like that. So I don't know. I feel like they're just trying to kind of take old ideas and refresh them. Not necessarily a bad thing, depending on what it is and how it's done. But sometimes it's just kind of like, all right, are we running out of ideas? That's what's going on? That's how I feel.
Well, we knew this year for E3 was going to be really rough. It's going to be really toned down. You're going to be at home, sitting on your couch. And like what they, I mean, it's sad. Like I said, 2020 releases for many, many things.
That was the consensus. That was the consensus. A lot of people were saying that this E3 was just kind of like not that great. A lot of people were expecting more things and did not happen.
The big bummer that I've heard from many different channels and friends is like, oh, there's no Nintendo Switch Pro. It's like, well, yeah, we kind of knew that wasn't going to be a thing because a rumor that I've kind of heard from other channels like Metal Jesus Rock, stuff like that, even he kind of said that it looks like when Breath of the Wild kind of hits, that's when they're going to make the big announcement of like 4K gaming and here's a new thing. And I'm like, I don't doubt it. It's Nintendo.
I think they're going to wait until the boom for trying to get an Xbox and a PS5 dies out because people are still trying for that. I'm not trying for it actively, but you know, I'm just like, I need a PS5 at some point.
It was a rough go.
But I think they're just waiting for that kind of like boom rush to die, and then they're just going to kind of swoop in and be like, "Hey, Switch."
A thing, yeah. Components are a thing,
and then people are just like going to be like, "Ah." Well, yeah, I think that's also a thing because they have to play it a little safer right now because they got into more trouble than PS5 and Xbox have right now because PS5 and Xbox, it's a matter of there's no supply for the demand. Nintendo, however, had a really big oopsie last year, which was when everybody decided, you know, to go mass crazy and get a Switch. And then it was this whole issue of the hardware having problems.
Oh my god, my eBay story sucked. I ended up calling the guy Tuxtel one day. I'm like, so I'm getting a Switch. She's like, bitch, good luck. And I'm like, this guy went for 400. She's like, everybody's like, get a light. And I'm like, I have a 55-inch flat screen. I don't play handhelds that much. So I'm like, you know, it's good to have the multiple of like, it's a Switch.
Yeah.
Pick it up with you and take it with you.
Yep.
And I try to explain that to friends. I'm like, hey, I'll buy your Switch from you. Because one of my friends was like, you want mine? I'll sell it to you for this. And I'm like, you know what? I just want it because I miss playing Mario Kart. I miss playing with friends. And sadly, I haven't picked it up in like over a week. It's just sitting in the dock waiting for me. I haven't checked Animal Crossing or nothing.
Oh my god.
And I still got to play some more Breath of the Wild. So
I was lucky and I had my Switch before all this happened. So like it was just a matter of dusting it off because I never played it.
You were for GameStop and you got it for a nice deal. So you're like,
well, yeah, because again, I'm not dumb.
You're like, and then you're like, think about selling my Switch. And all of a sudden like COVID happened. You're like, nah.
I thought about it, but then I was like, you know, I'm going to dust it off and play it. I don't even care because I kept putting it off. So, but yeah, they had that issue with the Joy-Cons, which mine also suffered from the Joy-Con drift.
I'm lucky I don't have that yet. So.
My brother inherited my Switch and he told me, he's like, the drift is getting worse. And I was one of those people who I looked up a tutorial and I bought
I didn't even know there was a freaking actual lawsuit with that. My buddy of mine, Dakota, who was on one of our old podcasts, he was like, bro, there's a lawsuit against this. Like he had 4 Joy-Cons that had it. And he's like, Nintendo got sued, bro. There's a class action lawsuit right now with it. Still going on with Nintendo where they have to replace your Joy-Cons. I
think my theory is that they're just kind of holding off on announcing too much about it until they can get it right. Because if this happens again, you know, Nintendo's going to go down the hole.
Yeah, that's money. It's like,
and Sony. It's like, yes, people love Nintendo, but are they going to pay for a faulty system that forces you to buy $80 controllers like every year and a half just because one of them is not working? And yeah, they were helping and fixing it at one point by saying, oh, you can send it to us as long as you haven't opened it yourself.
Yeah,
and we'll fix it and resend it to you. Yeah. But there were people
I lost her for a quick sec.
Complaining about how it would take.
There she is. Yeah, I didn't know there was like a lawsuit. I mean, I'm lucky mine hasn't locked up or anything. So I take good care of my crap. I don't throw it against the wall. I don't, I haven't bought a new.
Well, to be fair, mine was pre-owned, so it got drift issue pretty quickly. So I want to say it wasn't my fault because the new system that I have, because I got the Animal Crossing one and then my brother inherited my old one.
Yeah.
The Animal Crossing one that I have, I've had it for like 5 months now, and I've used it quite a lot, and I haven't had a drift issue yet. So who knows?
I mean, I got a compressor and stuff. So if I need to clean my controllers, I just spray that air in there and just blow it all out. That's usually what it is. From what Daryl just kind of said, I overspoke her. If you look at the tutorials, most of it is just take a Q-tip with like a little bit of alcohol, not much, and just work around and get all that gook out of there. That's what's giving you that.
Oh, that didn't even work for me. Yeah. That didn't work. I had to buy a kit on Amazon. Amazon was selling little analog kits. I had to watch a tutorial and go very slowly and take that sucker apart. That was stressful.
And it worked. My computer the other day. But it's what it is.
I think it's also just like because people were taking care of their systems as well. There were a lot of people who complained like, "Hey, I take care of my system," but it happened. So it was more like a hardware issue as opposed to like people not taking care of their Switch. I think.
It is what it is. It's meant to be, used, and your fingers are gonna get dirty. I need to look up Control Freaks too for the PS5 and the PS4. My buddy, Pernisco, plays Control Freaks, and they have like new thumbsticks that give you more control. So you can probably try that idea if somebody wants to clean up their Switch a little bit too. I'm hoping they announce. I'm not ready. I'm not ready for a new Switch. I'm not ready to buy another console. So. I mean, like, do you want the 4K? I'm like, no, as long as it works on the Switch, I'm good. I don't need to go out and buy another 4K thing. So I think the Xbox is the next thing I might buy once finances improve. But even when it's, we'll see. But yeah, hopefully Nintendo learns their lesson. I wish Nintendo games would come down in price. That's the one thing I wish, but that won't ever happen. Ever. So.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, Nintendo Direct. You want to talk about the Nintendo console that they came out with, and the Watch?
Honestly, I kind of zoned out on that one.
So you can talk about it. Yeah, for those who don't know what that is, if you're a nostalgic freak, like in the 80s or 90s. I mean, I don't know much about it either. I never owned something like that. It's going to have Zelda and a few other old games, I guess, in it. Looks like the going price on it was like $299 or $300. So I guess it's gonna be a limited number release, and I'm just like, yeah, cool. Like it's like I think it's just like they don't quote me on this, like an anniversary thing, 35 year or whatever the hell it is. I don't know. So don't punch me in the face. I just kind of looked at it and was like, for that kind of price, hold on, man. Like I'm good. I can go without. I mean, I'm not a nostalgic freak. I mean, trust me, I had like all this stuff on, it's cool having it all on the Nintendo Switch to like play, Super Mario Bros. And a few other things and stuff from my nostalgic days, but I wouldn't spend that kind of money on something like that. I could easily get a Raspberry Pi and design something like that. But there's many homebrew kits that do that. So I think it's a cool system, but not for that price. I can't justify it. So, but.
I saw it, but it didn't really, I think it's going to kind of do the same thing. Remember when the little portable NES came out and everybody wanted that one, but then they came out with the second. I don't know if it was a Saturn or what it was.
No, it was
and that just tanked. Like you couldn't. Like when I worked at GameStop, you could not sell that thing. Like you would just be like, "Hi, do you want?"
The one that's sunk right now, and I really still want to get it because it has Metal Gear. Is the PS1 version, but everybody's like, don't do it. I'm like, I saw it for $30 and I was going to grab it. And a friend of mine's like, you can homebrew that and put all the ROMs on it. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but like, oh wait.
I didn't get that one because it just.
I don't need to.
Most of the games on it didn't appeal.
No, that's everybody else. My buddy did it, and he's got all the homebrew kits on it. I can't tell you where to get them, but he's got all that crap. So on his and. One thing I don't like, it doesn't have the DualShock on it, so you can't like feel the rumble and stuff like that. It's got the old PlayStation feel, and I'm like, and the controller's really wonky, and it's crackly. If you bend it, it's got that crack feel. I don't want that. So, I mean, like I said, the only game I want is Metal Gear 1 because it's like legit. But other than that, I'm like, that game sucks. That game's not really, But
yeah,
I don't know where companies are like, let's get this nostalgic feel. They'll pay $3.99 for it. It's like. Not today.
No. Do not.
I can get a Raspberry Pi that does the same thing for less. Yeah. So, but yeah, Nintendo was okay this year. I mean, I don't know.
It was okay. It had its ups. It had its down. A lot of people were talking about how that new Mario Party is not great.
No. I mean, Smash, if you're a fighter fan, all the, Tekken stuff got announced and all that stuff got announced. But, yeah, nothing up my alley, really. Like, Battlefield, really, I kind of was like, eh. Like I said, I was more about the indie stuff when I spotted some of the indie stuff, like, Syl and a few other things like Del just mentioned. Like, I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
I'm a story-driven guy. I mean, I'm Call of Duty.
I was intrigued by the Super Monkey Ball anniversary.
That one looks fun. That's something
just because I played Super Monkey Ball and I was like, wait, this looks fun.
Right, and I ended up playing Knockout Guys or Knockout. Yeah, I like that one too.
Yeah,
we gotta play sometime. That's kind of fun. I scream like a little girl when I'm playing. I'm like, I want to live. I'm down. I'm like, I think so.
Listen, one of these days we got to go back to playing Overcooked, and then we got to play like some weird multiplayers. I would say.
Yeah, we're gonna make our list. Like I said, this is only episode 2, and we got a whole bunch of stuff.
Oh no, there's a list of games. I mean, I need to play. I need to play Oxenfree and have you watch while I play it because I bought that game ages ago when it was on sale. It's a good sale. It's really interesting. I have not spoiled the whole thing for myself on purpose because what's the point of spoiling it and then I don't play it. Right. But there are some aspects to it that I'm really excited to play about it. It's kind of like a very 90s horror-esque game with a lot of discovering. Like this girl, she goes to an abandoned island with her friends, and then suddenly she gets a radio and she uses frequencies to kind of manipulate like reality and things like that. And she also gets messages from like aliens and shit. And I'm like, oh, what is this? This looks interesting. And I think there might be a sequel at some point somebody was talking about, which if that happens,
I must play this game or try this game. It sounds like something I'd be really into.
Oh yeah, no, I'll put it on one of these days, and I'll share play it with you so you can see and you can decide for yourself if it's something you want.
Because I still need to play. Like I bought Amnesia because I was like, I'll watch you play it, but I won't touch that shit.
No, I'm not touching that.
I will gladly watch you jump like a little girl. I will hide in my corner with my doggy and.
Nope.
I'm like, she is not a horror. Yeah, so like when I saw Slit and a few other things. She was
like watching him. I like watching him, even though I jump and I like slightly cry a little bit. But you cannot get me to play a full-on horror game. Like I've made my exceptions for mild, gory kind of.
And you were just talking. We were sitting there about
because I played Plague Tale, and Plague Tale is like one of those games that normally I'd be like.
I went over. There's a moment in Body you go over, and all these bodies are just scorched beyond recognition, and you're like you hear the crunching because I'm wearing like surround sound headphones. You just you're like.
Yep.
And I've smelt burning carcass smell. Like I've been to like, and a friend of mine does special effects makeup for a living, and. There's this skull that I'll go into the story, but there's a skull that he made for Halloween Horror Nights for Universal Orlando, and it's cast out of resin, and there's like this fake skin that they put over, like kind of like a latex, but it's like real skin looking.
Yeah.
And he's playing this video for me because I went to his house, and his shop is really cool. He's like they made a couple of them, and he pulls open this thing. He's like opens like the knapsack. This is like for media, so media people would get it. He's playing the video, and this guy ends up like. Like starts like gagging, and I'm like, what the hell is he gagging? He's like, it smells like rotting carcass. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, you smell rotting carcass in real life? I'm like, yeah, I'm a hunter. I went hunting and I shoot deer and stuff like that, and it does smell. Like you gotta gut it and clean it. It's gonna stink. But this, like, he ends up opening a little vial for me on how he developed the smell, and it was getting gnarly. I was like, and I'm like, who made that? He's like, it's from a company called blah blah blah, and it smelled like shit. Like. It smelled like rotting flesh, like gross. But I'm wondering, all these media people are like starting to vomit. One guy's on the lawn, like, and you got to pull open like the skull. Like there's a piece of like it's foam brain. It was all fake. It's cast resin. You pull the brain open, and there's the SD card. The SD card you stick in your computer, and it would give you type in the code. It's on the skull, like it was engraved in the skull, like with a laser engraver, and it said like your code is, and the media person would punch it in. It would be their invite for Halloween Horror Nights. So that's how they would know that they were invited to Halloween Horror Nights. And I was like, well, that's pretty freaking nifty. I'm like, the smell though, he's like, it took us 2 weeks to find the smell. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah. He's like, there were some other ones that were just worse than that. So yeah, Plague Tale, like I said, Dale won't. I'm surprised you even got through that sequence, because there's a couple of sequences in that. It's just like, woo. Because I'm still playing through it. I'm on like.
Well, the thing is, I didn't know. I jumped into that game only going off the suggestions of my coworkers when I worked at GameStop, where they were like, "Get this game. It's really good. It's indie." And I went, "Is the story great?" And they said, "Yeah, the story's really good." And I thought, "Yeah, okay." And then as I'm playing, I just went, "Oh no." Oh no, it's so gory. But at that point I was like, you know what? I'm invested. I gotta go. I gotta do it.
Yeah.
There were times where I kind of went like, I can't do this. I'm so bad at stealth. And if my brother was there, I'd just be like, do this for me.
That's like the thing. We played the other night and Dell was like, God, why are you... I started rushing and then my Metal Gear stuff and my Gears of War stuff started coming. So I started slowing down. I'm like, all right, I know how to play these. And I got past a couple levels without even doing anything. Somebody's like, oh, you play stealth? I'm like, yeah, I played like Spy vs. Spy. I played all these, kind of...
Well, no, at first I was yelling at you because you kept trying to rush, because you were like, I just want to get through this. And I'm like, if you rush, you're never going to finish and you're going to take twice as long because you kept getting killed or caught.
I kind of did a redo and I kind of flew past levels. It was like, Dell wasn't there and I was like, oh, Dell would hop on. She had other things to take care of. So I was a solo player and I jumped in and I was like, I got through a couple of levels really, really quick, grabbed the, collectibles I needed to grab and trophies I needed to grab. And I'm like, oh, that wasn't so hard. It's just me speeding up. And I need to learn to slow down because like in Metal Gear, Phantom Pain, you can't speed up. You have to there's no map. You just got to pull up the binoculars and study each. And the character, once it finds out what you're doing, like in Metal Gear, it will literally go around you. It learns your path. So you have to oh shit, I can't use this gun here because it makes too much noise. Same thing for those guys. You got to be slow and silent, And then I was like, oh, I can just whip the guy in the head. Okay, for the helmet, just hit, turn on the alcohol and hit him in the head and, knock him out. So it's turning to be a really fun game. I'm really loving the hell out of it. I'm looking forward to number 2. Like I said, Dell didn't spoil anything for me yet, so I'm almost to the end. I'm not trying to speed past it, but I'm really loving what I'm getting.
Even I'm not spoiling it for you at all, but even the new trailer, it doesn't. It's so vague.
Yeah,
as somebody who finished the game, it is so vague that the only thing I could really tell about the trailer is that the boy with the hair in his face, it looked like your brother from this game. So I was like, where are they?
Yeah, so it's gonna be Amicia and it's gonna be Hugo again. We don't know where they are. That's much what I got from it. So I don't know what the hell's going on. I don't know what the hell's going on with the game I'm playing now. So I'm like, I'm in the chapter where I go back to the house because we just found out, spoilers, played. The mother is still alive. The brother got rescued. The girl's brother got rescued. And she's like, the reason why we came back, it wasn't really for you. It's because we found out your mother is still alive. Don't tell Hugo, but Hugo's up in there having his brain attack or the illness he's having, the blood boiling in his head. And Hugo obviously hears because they're talking loud. She should honestly just tell her brother, but she doesn't want to ruin his life. And mom might be alive, but mom might die too. We don't know. You don't want to.
It's like she doesn't want to get his hopes up because they don't know what they're going to find at that point.
Yeah, she's going to be dead
and if they tell him, the thing with Hugo is he's very impulsive. So if they told him, he would immediately be like, we got to go get her. We got to go get her. And it's like, dude, we cannot go get her right now. You need to chill.
Yeah, one step at a time, especially with the Inquisition, the way that the Inquisition is, it's just like, they'll fuck you up. You got to slow down.
I can tell you though, just off the top of my head, I just kind of Googled Somerville real quick. And
let me pull that up in my end. I'm going to actually watch the trailer.
I looked it up, and the co-founder for the studio, because it's from, it's a debut title for an indie studio called Jump Ship. So it's their first title. But the co-founder is called Dino Patty, and they previously co-founded Play Dead, and they worked on Limbo and Inside, which explains why it looks like Limbo and Inside.
Oh, I would imagine. It's like a...
Which I'm okay with because honestly, again, Limbo and Inside are very good games. I personally didn't play Limbo, but my brother did, and I watched it. It was really good.
Right.
Inside is one that I actually did play, and God, that was so much anxiety. And I remember you playing.
What? Oh, Inside.
Yeah, I think I was the one who told you. I was like, please play this. It's really good.
That's the one you were like, hey, like since we're getting into games, like please play it. Like get on this, play this.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, I'll jump on it. And you're like, no, please get on. So I picked up Soma first. I started playing Soma because Del was like, hey,
yeah,
like I know your style. Good. I know we're chill and we like to play different styles. Please play this. So I started playing Soma. She jumped in around like midway through on Soma, and we just started jamming, talking because like we are what we are. We're chill. And so if you watch some of that, like you'll hear some of the profanity and shit like that. But that's just who we are. And I really got into it and started digging more into it. I was like, ooh, this is really good. And she's like, oh, Soma, I'm like deep at the end because like he's alone at the end. He's Catherine, and he doesn't realize that his subconscious was put into the satellite, and then he meets her at the end of the game. You're like, ah, shit, dude's all alone.
Yeah, so it's like it's
you can feel the panic.
You're torn because you're like you're like a copy of him went to space, but then a copy of him got stuck, and like now their paths have separated. So it's like two separate entities technically now. Yeah. So you feel bad for the one that got left behind, like hardcore.
All right, guys, I'm gonna watch the trailer real quick for Somerville, and I'll give you guys my opinion. Del wants to watch it with me. I'm on YouTube right now.
I already saw it.
And again, I'm back. I went to the bathroom myself. Delmarie went to the bathroom herself. Just watched Somerville, and yeah, man, definitely from the developers of Inside. I'm on board. Definitely on board. Definitely something I would watch, or something I would play. Sorry, I said watch. Yeah, I would definitely play it. I'm gonna play Limbo too because I got Limbo for free, and I'm gonna play. I never played Limbo because I
really.
Yeah,
I never have to watch you do that for the reactions.
There's a spider in that one, and I'm just like,
oh, there's multiple spiders in that one.
Yeah, I'll be all right. I'll be all right.
As long as you know that they're there.
Yeah, once I see the legs, I'm just like, all right, fuck it. Once I cry like a little girl. If it's not like I said, I couldn't play Dragon Age Inquisition. And Michael and David, I love you guys to death. Thank you for buying me a copy of that. Once I found that there were huge spiders in it, I couldn't, unfortunately. And I had friends that were like, "Oh, but you get it for PC, I can mod it for you." So, because they know I have arachnophobia. And so one of my boys was like, "Oh, you play Skyrim, I can mod it for you, so you don't cheat. You can get more bears or whatever." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm good." You know. But I felt so bad. I'm sorry, guys. I tried. But yeah, I'm totally in it. It looks like it's from the developers of Inside, actually. And the sound of the gun sounds amazing too. A little. And it looks like it's gonna be a sad game, sadly. So it's probably gonna have a narrative like Inside had, where
Inside was very open ended.
Very open ended, and there's also a secret ending to Inside that I was right next to, and I didn't know how to do it. And then somebody was like, I watched the video, and they're like, "Oh, you wanted this quick ending? You do," and it goes to an ending. I'm like, "Oh shit!" Huh. So yeah, I'll replay it again, and I'll show people that. It's on YouTube. You can just pop it up if you want to just spoil yourself. But the sequence with like a full safe thing, you go down and you tick, 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 and the door opens up and then the game ends. And I'm like, shit.
Oh yeah, the one at the like near the beginning.
Yeah. Literally, you can end the game in like a couple seconds. It's kind of like Far Cry and like Far Cry 4 or Far Cry 3. If you sit there with Pagan Man, who is voiced by Troy Baker, which we all know, if you sit there and you say, "Hey, wait for me," the game will end right there. You wait like 5 minutes, the game will actually go to its automatic ending. I'm like, what? There's like 3 different endings. They're like, yeah, like welcome to Ubisoft doing their thing. I'm like, that's wild. So, yeah, Somerville, I would totally give a copy of it. It looks like I would definitely play it, but I need to play Limbo for sure. I put that on my list. I actually re-downloaded it, so I'll put that on my list once I'm done with Plague Tale. We'll do a let's play together, and you can watch me scream like a girl. But anything else that you are excited for besides that one? Like anything kind of that struck you as holy shit?
Sadly, no. It like I said, it's been a very underwhelming E3, and then everything that I wanted to be excited for, it was the complete opposite. I'm extremely turned off by, and it's sad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we knew the C3 was going to be pretty rough, especially with COVID being a thing. And a lot of my game friends that are in the game industry, they even said the same thing. I got like 2 friends work for EA and another one that's working for an indie developer. And they said it was going to be a rough year. I didn't know it was going to be this rough, but yeah, even they said it was rough. And then one of my friends knows a few people from CD Projekt Red and was like, yo, y'all need to fucking relax. Like, they're trying. They're really trying. It's not the developer's fault. It's more the company's fault, you know, as a management fault, not developer's fault. So I need to get back into Cyberpunk because I want to play it so bad. They put a new patch in, so I probably will play it sometime soon. But
I don't think anybody who's a genuine gamer who knows these kind of things is actually mad at developers. It's more like they get it. I think the only people who are mad are the people who just don't have any patience and don't understand how these things work.
Well, it's like trolls, man. I got trolled the other night on Twitch, and I was like, "What is this?" And I was like, "Whatever." And I just kind of went away. I just let shit go. I don't even pay attention to comments sometimes. I've had people on Twitch like jump on and, "Hey man, what's going on?" Like, damn it, say hi. I like to say hi. Usually you'll get somebody like, "Your stream sucks." Like, bye.
Oh my god.
I don't do it for you.
I just don't even listen to those.
No.
God knows how many I get for that.
Mm-hmm. I know. A buddy of ours, I was just checking his out. We were finishing up our Twitch last night. We do official Twitch that Del and myself are a part of. So you'll see her on or myself on her just collabing because we're trying to really build to a future for everything and stuff like that. Because we want to give you guys a good platform to jump onto and feel comfortable in. And we've invited everybody who maybe not a gamer, just like, you know, you're just nervous. Like, don't be nervous because like we're just as weird as you may think we are. It's okay to be a weird gamer.
I technically get a lot of lurkers, and I don't mind them, and I don't like to call attention to them either because they lurk for a reason sometimes.
But I
appreciate all my little lurkers who come in and don't say anything, but they're watching.
Yeah, I had somebody walk in to say hi, and I'm like, hi, and they're like, I'm gonna watch. I'm like, go ahead and watch. And they're like, do you need help? And I'm like, actually, yes. And there was a delay. I think it was on Soma actually. I had an issue, and there were 2 dudes actually. I don't know who they were. I keep forgetting. They're on the Open Mind channel, but they're not on the Past Midnight channel. And they're like, oh, and there's a 5-second delay with Twitch, so like from the PlayStation to that. So I had to slow myself down and go, Ollie, you're doing this. Okay, cool. Boom. This. Okay, got it. And like, you got it. I'm like, I got it. So
that's good though, at least.
Those are some fun people that are like jumped in the stream and we're like, hey man, like what do you do? What do you know, stuff like that. So like I said, don't be alarmed, guys. Like we're building a channel slowly. We got so much to discuss, and I don't think we'll ever run out of topics because there's just books upon Final Fantasy, upon stuff like that. And movies and shows that we're geeking about. And I still haven't watched Loki yet or Falcon
I have not
and Winter
either.
Soldier. So I guess maybe we'll do me and Delmarie can actually do a Let's Watch together and maybe make that part of a podcast. I don't know. We can do a Let's Watch together. Yeah, we'll all in due time.
Without her.
Oh, I mean, you can watch it with her. And I'm like, Ollie, pause, potty break. Okay, pause, potty break. But yeah, man, join us for this and stuff like that. Is that enough with our E3 talk? Do you want to kind of get into our topic, or?
I mean, was there anything from E3 that you had been excited about but wasn't good?
I think I feel like I wasn't really expecting much from E3 this year. It's kind of, I don't know why I feel out of E3. I'm kind of like the guy who's like, I'll watch the highlights. Okay. I mean, once, like back in the day, I used to be like, oh my God, E3, go on G4 and watch it. But now it's like, let me just kind of sit down and pick through what I want. I mean, Halo's being announced and this one's being announced right now. But I have so much on my plate right now with just all the games we have that I'm like, you still got to beat Horizon Zero Dawn because everybody says it's good and you really were enjoying it. You still got to finish Spider-Man. You still got to play Miles Morales. You still got to play. So I was kind of trying not to put too much on my list.
It's like that meme that I sent you where it was like my backlog that I have not touched. My face when people ask me, you know, if I finished X or Y game, and it was like, Whoa.
Like I want to get back into Death Stranding again because I want to get a couple things in Death Stranding, and you know, and then you know, me and Del are doing this, and I'm doing my own thing and working and learning 3 different programs, the laser cut to 3D print. And by the way, I can show. Look at Delmarie's thingy that I just finished up last night. So this is part 1 of the headphone stand. So came out pretty good. I think so. And then her little, wow. I didn't show her this one. She doesn't even see. Her little.
Yeah. My mom saw the little video and she thought it was like a forest thing. And she's like, I want one from my keys. And I was like, it's Lord of the Rings. And she's like, oh, I thought it was foresty. And I'm like, I might be able to find one. Actually,
you're lucky. I have 2 other ones that are just coming to you. They're not in, one of them, they'll work. They'll work.
Oh.
So, yeah. Okay. How I am 3D printing wise. I'm very professional and too much of a freaking perfectionist. So when I see something, I'm like, I gotta get this done right because my name's on that shit. And even though I didn't design it, still printing it and building it's a whole other shebangle. So you can't send it to somebody who should be properly done. So that's how I am.
Yeah.
Even with this damn thing, it took me 3 goes because it would go and then it would break, and I'm just like,
oh my god.
Yeah. So this one, this is a PLA. The other ones I tried doing, I will send Dell photos. Those were out of resin and they didn't want to go at all. They would print and I'm like,
oh my god.
My clients have no idea why I charge what I charge. When I tell them, I'm like, I had one client like that. He was like, oh man, like you charged a bit much, but I can see why. And I sent him all the ones that were duds, and I'm like, here's all your duds. And he was like, huh, you really do take time and make sure shit's right. I'm like, yeah, I do. Like you don't see that, but I do. But yeah, I mean, E3 was back to that. E3 was kind of not a letdown for me. I wasn't expecting much. I didn't know what to expect, but I knew going in it was going to be kind of a dud of like, not really a dud, it's just things we were expecting. And then a lot of 2022 releases of like, hey, this is coming out, but don't expect much until next year or what have you. And the indie stuff is what I was kind of into once I was like, all right, let me see what this stuff is. And I'll watch that and, and cool. I like that one. But it all comes down to budget too. What can I afford? So at the end of the day, it's like, what can you afford? It's like, okay, you have all these titles, but you should play what you have now. Back to my thing. E3 was kind of a letdown for me. So not really, but yeah, wasn't really expecting much. But yeah, I wasn't expecting much from E3, and I didn't get what I wanted. So I mean, I did get what I wanted. I got some indie titles, but other than that, I didn't get much. So
appointment because I mean, don't get me wrong. I know I'm going to get crap for this opinion of mine, but remember when we talked about last time where I'm not sure how I feel about where Final Fantasy is going. They did show off like a little bit more, a little like gameplay-ish, and they have a demo out. I haven't touched it. I haven't touched it either. Before I give a bigger opinion, but I like Ninja as a studio. It's an okay studio, but I just don't know how I feel about this new Final Fantasy Origin game that they're coming out with, which is like a hack and slasher thing with like these very not memorable looking characters.
They're trying to appeal to an audience like myself that's easy to pick up.
Yeah, the problem I'm worried about is this going to be another Type 0 or / Dirge of Cerberus debacle where they kind of went on side paths to Final Fantasy and then they came up with these new styles of playing Final Fantasy where it was like these hack and slashers and stuff, and these games quickly, and I mean like really quickly, just dropped in price. There was really no audience. People weren't buying it. Maybe now, who knows, maybe like the audience has evolved enough to be where they can say, yeah, now we will probably have a bigger audience for it and people will actually want to play this game.
Probably so. I mean, like, I played like the last one. And
like I said, I'm going to play the demo first, but I hate that all these new FF games are being announced, like 16 and 7 the First Soldier, which is like a 30-year before the actual game thing where everybody's like y'all get to play a first class soldier online on this like MMO kind of weird thing, and I'm just like, I don't know. I feel like in trying to get new people into the franchise, they're forgetting the older fans, and I guess it's fine in a way because the older fans probably aren't playing as much Final Fantasy, like not like me.
And I think it's becoming a cash grab.
They do have the older fans still who are just kind of wishing, that it wouldn't go.
It's like me with a few games. Like, everybody's like, would you want this game? And I'm like, I want a remaster of this because it's so nostalgic to me, and I want to see it remastered for this season. And like, we got Mass Effect Legendary, and I'm like, are you gonna get a copy of that? I'm like, can't afford it right now. Did want a copy. Had to take it off my pre-order list, but I'll get it too when it's in price.
I liked. Don't get me wrong. FF7 remake is okay looking, but in terms of playability, it's very different to the old school games, and it's not a play style that appeals to me necessarily.
Right, you're not a.
And it gets very frustrating when there's too many commands to do different things, and I forget them constantly.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, because you're not like a button masher. You're like more strategic of like, okay, I'm doing this from sub menu A to sub menu B. Boom, boom, boom. It's kind of like Persona 5. It's like, okay, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. Okay, I know these sequences. I don't need to go to hit A and B to do this, or X or Y, X or circle, or what the hell have you. I can see where you're. But I think there was also a thing where you can adjust that to where it's not a thing. So you could play your old school way. I think they are catering to both style of fans. I did see a setting in there for that, because somebody was like, it was like classic or new style, and somebody chose classic, and it went right back to the menu system. So like, okay, you do this, and you turn based. And I see what you're getting at. I mean, and right now I can see why they're trying to get people such as myself and others that are like not turn based oriented to like be comfortable with it, I guess. And to me, it's like a cash grab. I don't know.
It's like I said, I'm glad that they're bringing in new people to the franchise and they're expanding storylines and stuff. But I feel like they're trying to bring in a new crowd that likes different types of game, and they're losing the essence of what Final Fantasy was in terms of like storylines and things like that. 16 is to be seen, because I can't really give too much of an opinion on 16 because they said it's playing off of the storyline of the online MMO, and I have never touched it because that's a cash grab right there. That's like Warcraft to me. I'm not.
Apparently, they're making a shit ton of money on it, so like that's why they're doing it. Yeah.
Like, I'm not sinking money into those kind of games, and so like I don't know too much of the lore for that one. I just know that when I saw the trailer, nothing appealed to me. It just felt like I was watching a trailer for Game of Thrones knockoff, and none of the characters really pop out. None of them stand out. It's a very washed out color palette, so like you don't even know who the heck is important or not. And I don't know. We'll see as it goes on and develops and more things come out.
Right. I mean, they kept saying, I think somebody's like, you said chaos like 7 times. We're looking for chaos. And there's like me and I put on our page. And I was like, yeah, pretty much right. But I watched the trailer and I'm like, oh God. Well, like, that's not even your bug. We didn't last podcast. We were trying to get into your nitpicky with the Final Fantasy 8 or 7.
Oh God, 8 is the one that I hate.
But we decided, we're like, let's go down that rabbit hole. So I actually had to study it. I had to go.
Did you look up 8 or 7?
I looked up 8.
Okay.
So I looked up what you didn't. I was like, okay, I got the story. I got what the hell's going on. There's this time thing. There's this girl. There's that. I'm like, holy shit.
So this game, when it came out, and I still have one of the old, I think it's, oh God, was it Game Informer or IGN? I don't know. I don't remember what the magazine was at that time. It was probably an IGN magazine. I have an article clip from that magazine when the game still hadn't come out yet, and you only got like screenshots and things. And this game was sold as a romance. So, they kind of promoted this game as like a game that was, two lovers that, they meet and it's like a love across time and things like that. And you play this game.
It was confusing because he's falling in love with his teacher and it's like teacher's falling in love with him.
No, very wrong. He does not care about anybody. At the beginning, he's very aloof because when he was very young and a child, he had a girl that was like his older sister at an orphanage, and I guess she disappeared on him, or I don't know, she didn't get adopted. She had to leave because she has a power that really never gets explained for the whole game. It's the one thing that you're just kind of sitting there going, how can she do this? And it's just this whole, you have to trust that she can do it because she can, and that's it. And she can basically kind of send people back into other people's memories, which is what she spends most of the game doing. And you don't know it's her until you meet her again. And then she's like, oh yeah, I've been doing that. And then you're just like, why? Why though?
Yeah.
So basically she just has to disappear because she has a power that like sorceresses want and the military wants and yada yada. So they have to hide her. And he's just so heartbroken that the one person he loved and that he'd opened himself up to left him. And he's just like, everybody leaves me and I'm all alone. Even though he's in an orphanage with a whole bunch of other kids, he just does not care to be very friendly with. So he just kind of like grows up and becomes this very aloof human being, which is where you start the game. He's very aloof. And his teacher, who is like a year older than him, has a crush on him. But he's like, when she confesses it to him near the very beginning of the game, he just kind of like, goes,
yeah.
He just I was whatever. That's
I was right, and Dell's like, no. His teacher did. She stopped. She's like, I'm not part of this military thing anymore. And they're like, he's like, fuck you.
No, she basically confides in him. She's like, oh, I had to step down as a teacher because apparently I'm not that good of a teacher right now. Yeah. Things like that, yada yada. Yada yada. Kind of goes. He literally tells her, why aren't you telling it to somebody who actually cares? Like straight up, the dialogue is him just going, you should tell this to somebody who cares. Yeah. He's just like, oh, I thought, like, and he just kind of, he literally, his catchphrase is whatever. And he walks away and I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But no, it's so discomforting, this game, to me, because there's this, he finally, like, the love interest is this girl who was dating his rival at the beginning of the game. So his arch rival, who gives him a face scar and whatnot, they were dating. And then I guess they break up, and then she treats the protagonist like he doesn't know anything, She calls him a meanie head. She has a habit of stomping her foot and just pouting and throwing a tantrum. And everybody always tells me, well, you got to remember, he's a military boy and she's a civilian. So it's like this kind of like clash of, they have to understand each other. And I'm sitting there going, it's one thing to be a civilian. It's a whole other thing to act like you're 5.
Right.
Which is what she does during most of the game. She is very impulsive.
Either, she's like, I'm so great. It's like,
she's very impulsive. She's the daughter of a military general, and she leads this what is it? This rebellion group,
right?
Trying to get the military out of this town. And I'm just kind of sitting here going, "Are you okay, child?" But then, what the most disturbing part of this game to me is how closely they wrote the storyline to where just one little millimeter and the protagonists that are romantically involved could have been siblings.
Yeah, it got really quick.
And there's a possibility.
I had to rewind the video. I was watching. I forget
like
the
in my head.
It was.
Yeah, in my head there was always this possibility.
Yeah, it could have gone anywhere, and it was like,
what if they're actually related and they have no idea? But then, of course, it's this whole, well, they're the same age. So I was like, okay, that kind of kills my theory a little bit. But it's
maybe not, though.
They could have almost been. And it's so, to me, it's still awkward because it's when if he ever introduces her to his dad, it's like, hey, this is the daughter of that girl that you banged, that I watched you kind of bang in a memory. Like, yikes.
That would have been like, what the?
Like, what kind of conversation was that going to be? Like, down the line, they're dating, and he goes,
honestly,
by the way,
like, how do you
I went into my own dad's head, and I had a memory of my dad banging your mom.
Yeah.
Like, I remember my dad banging.
Sorry for that image, everybody.
But it was just very like,
yeah.
And it's like, I cannot. Also, this is the only female Final Fantasy protagonist in a while. I haven't really thought about other ones, but it's the only female Final Fantasy protagonist that is mostly useless. And I mean that severely, like, she is mostly useless until she, spoiler warning for whoever's not played this game, but this game is old as hell. So, you know, if you don't know,
1998 or 1999, something like that.
98 or so. This girl, she becomes useful when she finally gains sorceress powers that she inherits from another sorceress who's dying, and it's like, you're the only person here right now, so here, take this. And I'm like, oh boy. But that's the only time she becomes useful, because the only useful part of her in battle is her dog. Her limit break is her dog. Her dog brings you items and things, and that's about it. And then she has a disc attached to her wrist, and half the time she gets caught by bad guys, they grab the wrist that does not have a weapon attached to it. So she could very easily just kind of reach back and just like embed the thing in somebody's skull, which is what I would have done. Yeah. But instead she just stands there, does this weird little jerky struggle, and then is like, help me, Squall, help me. And you have to rescue her 3 times in the game. 3, not 1, 3. And on top of this 3 times, if you're in a battle and she's caught in the battle, which happens, I believe, twice. I can't rember. I believe it's twice. I know it happens one time, and it pissed me off because I had to redo the battle.
No, it does happen twice. Yeah, it does happen twice. Like, he rescues her again. You're like,
if she dies in the middle of the battle because the enemy kind of takes all her life essence from her, because you have to be fighting the enemy, but also healing her, because the enemy is like, let me just take her life essence, let me take her HP. If she dies in the middle of the battle, you don't go, oh, it's fine, I can just keep battling until the enemy is dead and then just keep going on with the story. No, the game goes, hey, game over. You didn't rescue her. She's dead. Oh, and you're just like, no. And one of them is a really tough battle. So it's this constant like healing her, and also trying to fight. Mm-hmm. And I hate it. And then if you accidentally hit mirror on her, you can kill her as well. If you put reflect on her, you can kill her on accident. And it's like, oh, great. Joy of joys.
So wonder how Delmarie found that out.
Oh God, it gets so frustrating. But like it's I don't know. Like, there are so many people who like this character, and to me, she's just so absolutely unlikable. It's her attitude. It's the way she reacts to things, where she wants everything kind of her way. It's the way she pushes herself on the protagonist in a very uncomfortable way. And I know people are always like, well, it's just a game, or, oh, well, this is how Japanese culture is. But then my counter argument to that is, okay, put yourself in the protagonist's shoes. If you had a guy or girl or whatever your preference is, act like this. So basically, go to your friends or go to your teammates at this time, because he didn't consider most of them his friends, and just kind of go, hey, I'm really into this dude. Could you kind of like push it and try and get him to like me? Like, would you not be uncomfortable with it? Like, if you're saying no, 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 and it keeps happening, and then suddenly this person who's really into you goes to one of your friends and says, hey, can you see if you can get him to give you his ring that he wears that is like a memento to him, and that he loves this ring and that he never takes it off? See if he'll give it to you, and then make me a copy to wear without telling him and without me asking if it's okay to do that. Like, I'm sorry, but at that point, that's when I kind of go, hi, I would like a restraining order on this bitch.
I mean, the story was so, it could have went left, right, up and down. It was like, hey, this is going on, that's going on. And I had to stop and rewind a couple times. I'm like, what is going on?
I love the protagonist. I love Squall. Don't get me wrong. Squall is a good character. He has very realistic evolution in the game. He goes from just not caring and being very isolated to suddenly going, oh wait, I have friends, I can depend on these people, like I'm feeling things, I actually care what happens to myself and the world in general.
Yeah, once he finally develops and you're like, oh shit, he does have a soul, and this is what
but at the same time, the romance between these two characters was just so forced, and it felt
at the end it was
other
like
characters onto him. It didn't feel natural. It felt more like a sibling relationship. Right. And then the romance was just kind of pushed.
All found out, that, oh shit, we were all orphans, and this is what the fuck was going on,
and she's not part of it, regardless. She never grew up with them. No, she was very
and they're all that like big reveal of like, oh shit, this is what's going on with all of us. We're all now getting our memories back. Yada yada. This thing, and then you're like you said, the story could have gone any which way. I think they had a lot to write, and they're like, okay, that's not working. Let's go this way. Let's go that way. And it's like, she's gonna fall in love with. That's what they were taking it. They're like, these two are gonna love. You're like, yay. And then Cypher, you're like, okay.
I also really didn't like that part of the narrative where it's like, oh, here's a convenient plot twist. All of us grew up together.
Right, and it was really like I was watching it. I'll see if I can find the video that I watched. It's about a 6-year-old video. But the guy did a pretty much an hour breakdown of the whole story and what it all out to you, so you can kind of understand it. So I didn't have to play the 10 hours campaign. He broke it down, and he had some smart ass shit to say too. And I was like, okay, got it.
Yeah.
But even he was like, okay, we're all from an orphanage together, and this is what's been going on. And holy shit, we're just realizing that we're all kind of related in some form.
Well, they're not related. They all grew up in the same orphanage. They were all orphans. Yeah.
Which was like, what the is that?
The only ones that might have at some point could have been related would have been Renoa and Squall, which is why I like the idea of them having more of a sibling-esque relationship, which felt natural, as opposed to that forced romance where even in the game, when you had the choice to give answers to her during intimate moments, if you responded negatively, which is what I did all the time because I was like, stop pushing, stop, I don't want this. Your friends would retaliate by being like, why are you so mean to her? You should be nicer to her. She really likes you. And I'm just like, no one is obligated to be nice to someone just because they like them. No one. Like,
I like how you bring the realism into
it. Well, this was also my pet peeve during Remake, to be fair. My pet peeve was that all the females thirst over Cloud in a very uncomfortable way. And I know a lot of guys who would joke like, oh, I wish a girl would like a hot girl like that would thirst over me like that. But then I would go, but would you like think of it in real life, hot or not, if a girl actually like pushed herself onto you that way, would you not kind of hesitate and step back and be like, you genuine or are you a little psycho?
Sometimes it turns out to be psycho, guys. Just a heads up.
Girls can also be cray-cray.
There's something up there that's kind of
some girls can be obsessive, and it's like
I got a friend right now that's at work that has a restraining order.
I always remember this. I don't remember if it was a movie or an episode to a show or something. No, it was an episode to a show, I believe, where this girl's just so obsessed with the guy that she goes, I baked you a pie. And then he's like, oh, okay, thanks, cool. And he eats a slice of pie and he's like, it's really good. And she's like, my hair is in that pie and you just ate it. So You've got a piece of me in you. And I just kind of sat there going, what is wrong with you?
So what Delmarie's referring to, which is hilarious, she's referring to Family Guy. When Meg couldn't get a date to the dance.
Meg. Oh my
and then
God.
Meg is Meg and Brian's a dog, obviously. So it's like bestiality right there. Not that that's weird or anything. So anyway,
please.
So they're going downstairs.
No, reiterate that is weird. Do not do bestiality.
Well, I mean, look what we touch on. Anyway, so Lois is going down. Like they're taking a prom photo, and like he's like, did you put weed in your pocket? So he's like, all right. They go to the dance, and they're like, Brian's dancing with her, Meg's falling in love, and all of a sudden, like Brian gets shit-face hammered, and all of a sudden, like one of the girls like picks on Meg, and she's like, you know what, Connie? Blah, blah, blah. And like Brian tells her, you know what, Connie, you're just gonna be washed up, you're giving hand jobs, whatever. And he barfs all over, and they start like he barfs, and they make out or whatever, and she falls in love with Brian, and then she like ties Brian up like this like thing, and she's telling Brian's like giving everybody clues like, yo, Meg's fucking psycho. And then she's like, hey Brian, you want a piece of pie? And he's like, it smells kind of good. He eats it, and he's like, what's in it? You want some Cool Whip? And that's where the Cool Whip comes in. Stewie always says. He eats it, and then like, a part of me is inside of you. My hair is inside that pie. And then Stewie's like, can I get a piece of pie? He's like, sure. He's like, can you get some Cool Whip? Cool Whip? And then he eats it. He's like, you're eating Meg's hair. And he's like, ah! that's a little shit.
Yep.
I explained it too much, too long, but you guys got it.
But
I'm surprised I grabbed your ear.
But like, going back on this, even though it's my personal pet peeve that I don't like this character, right. Everybody can feel how they want, and I know the people are going to go in the comments going like, it's just a game, it's supposed to be unrealistic. Yeah, but there comes a point where if I'm not believing the romance, it's bad writing. It's just bad writing at that point. And if you're selling me this game, like all the promotions were going, oh, it's a love across, time, and it's this whole game is about their romance, and I'm just sitting here going, what romance? He doesn't want her. And literally by the end of the game, the only reason I feel like he wanted her is because everybody shoved her down his throat. So it's almost like Stockholm syndrome, kind of, at that point, I feel like. Maybe I might be misusing Stockholm syndrome. Who knows? Possibly. But I think my biggest peeve, and I can't fault Square for doing this because that's what they do. Again, this goes back to why I'm not into the new Origin game. They also cater
to the audiences too, like the Western and Asian audiences.
Well, I think with 8, because 7 was so popular in the West, they wanted to try something different with 8. Mm-hmm. So with 8, they went out on a limb. They took a risk. I'm not saying it was a horrible risk. Some of it paid off. Some of it was okay. But a lot of aspects of the gameplay were just not great. The card game, you either love it or you hate it.
Yeah.
Straight up. You either love or hate their card game. A lot of people love the card game. Triple Triad. I never got too into Triple Triad, but then I liked the card game in 9, which was kind of similar. So who knows? Some that makes me always hesitate replaying this game. And so every time I have to replay this game, or like I try to replay this game, it's the battle system that kind of just makes me rethink it several times.
Yeah.
Because unlike other Final Fantasy games where you learn your spell and that's your spell, you can use it as many times as you want. You can use it whenever you want. You either level up and learn the spell that way, or like in Final Fantasy 9, you equip items that have these spells, and then you kind of have to keep the item on until the EXP bar fills, and then you've learned that spell and you can take the item off, and then that's your spell. With 8, all of the magic in the game, you had to draw it. So you either had to draw it from a draw system that was like randomly in the map, and draw systems were very rare in the map. You would only have one per section, maybe, if even that. or one per dungeon, maybe two if you were lucky. And the only other way to get draws is when you're in a battle, you would draw magic from the enemy, and you could draw up to 99 of each spell, depending on how long, you're drawing or things like that. Like you'd accumulate them. You could only have up to 99. And then as you cast your spells, you would deplete these spells. So it was like, it added an aspect of tactic to the game, but also frustration, because if you were in an area and suddenly, boss battle that I didn't know was going to happen. Oh, wait, he's weak to fire magic. I don't have that.
Yeah.
Or, I did not draw any Faragas. I have nothing. And then you're just stuck in this area where it's like, if you're like some people where you literally run through the game trying to get through the story and just kind of skip the grinding, at some point you would get to where you're too low level and you still kind of go YOLO, I'm going to suicide run this dungeon. Right. And you do it, and then you get to, you barely make it to a save point, and you're like, oh, thank God I'm at a save point, should be better now. But then you realize, I have no items. I barely have magic. I cannot fight any monsters or I'm going to die. And then suddenly, boom, boss battle right in front of you. So it's just like, oh, I am stuck. And then
you really don't know how to
make a second save, which has happened to me.
So many people have done that. I have like 3 saves. You're like, what's that one for? You're like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it.
Literally, I've learned to just make backup saves of saves. So I'll just like save at one point, and then I will make another save file as I keep progressing, and then like I'll write over them as I start to feel safer. I'll write over certain ones just in case, but I'll keep other ones.
I always wonder that with friends that play Final Fantasy and shit, like why there was like 6 saves, and they're like, not number 1. Like, why? I'm stuck there at here. I'm over. Like,
yep.
Yikes.
There are a lot of, and now there's a lot of games where you can't even do that. It's just one save, and it just auto does it for you. What game is it? There's a game that I'm playing. I forget. Oh, Little Nightmares is one of those games where you only have one save. You can't, like, if somebody wants to play your game and you're like, oh yeah, here, you can borrow it, or you can play it on my system or whatever, you would have to, if they decide, oh, let me start a new game, your save file is gone.
What? Yeah.
It's kaput. It tells you, it goes, hey, it's going to delete the save. Are you sure? And you're just like, no. So like only one person can play it at a time.
Why they would? I get why they're trying to do that, but at the same time, I'm like, what the fuck?
It was definitely short-sighted of them to do that, because I thought to myself, what if I want to watch somebody else play it, but also not kill my save?
Yeah. Because once you lose a save, man, that's hours gone.
Yep. I mean, especially if somebody wants to play it on my system because they don't have their own.
Yeah. So. One game I do need to pick up. I saw that I'm like, kind of. They have it on, I think, VR now too.
Yeah. Like, but 8 was just weird because of all the risks they took. Spend hours in a field looking for a certain enemy because that certain enemy had the one magic that I needed to draw, and then you just kind of have to stand there letting them hit you and just drawing and drawing and drawing with all your characters for a while. And then if you changed a character, or if a character was forced on you, you had to go into your menu and be like, okay, what does this character have? Oh, you barely have any magic. You have to move your magic from the one character you're not using in the moment to the other character so that they have things. And it's just such a pain in the butt.
That's fucking tedious.
And then there were only like a certain amount of weapons in the game. And to get these weapons, you had to find magazines, like these little weapon magazines. And you would read the magazines, and then you would unlock the ability to like create these weapons. But then you had to have the items to create said weapons. And that was another pain in the butt. Instead of just being like, hi, I would like to buy this on your shop, please. Thanks. Bye.
Yeah, welcome to Destiny 2, man. Destiny 2 is just like it. The grind is real.
It's like, listen, I don't have all this time to be sitting here trying to draw 99 fires from this one enemy that I can one-hit KO on accident.
What was
if
the
I try.
story length, do you know? Was it like 23 hours? What was the story length, do you know?
For
like
8?
Yeah.
Listen, I have erased 8 so hard from my memory. I don't know, but we'll look it up right now.
I'm guessing that's why they're like, hey, can make them.
I like how I googled FF8 story, and the second thing that shows up in my suggested search is FF8 story bad. FF8 story explained. FF8 story Reddit.
Don't go down the Reddit hole.
Oh my god. Laguna story? I do love Laguna, but also, that was really weird, the fact that you find out later, oh hey, this is my dad. I'm playing my dad.
Thank you.
Oh, good. Sorry.
A little bit of Jon Snow.
So I guess like it says the main story is about 40.5 hours-ish.
That's why they added all that grind.
Yeah.
On purpose. They wanted to slow you down. I guess that's why they did that.
Yeah. They say that to 100% it's about, depending on what platform, it goes anywhere from 80 hours to 95 hours on PS2. Wow. Dang.
Yikes. I couldn't,
I mean, replay it, like, you get your money's worth. You can't complain on that front. Yeah. I would always tell myself when I'd see an FF8, not FF8, when I'd see any Final Fantasy game in PS1 and PS2 era, my excuse was like, it's pricey, but I'll get my money's worth in hours that I'll play.
Yeah, that's just if you play too. Like I remember like one game I played and it was just like long as shit. Yeah. It was like, how many hours? Even like 40 hours. So like 40 hours. I'm like, well, that's like throughout a month. You know, I don't sit down play for 3 hours. Sit down play for 3 hours. I mean, I've got some people that grind all effing day.
Yeah. So, I know 8 also was one of those games where the soundtrack wasn't the best. At least compared between 7 and 9. Yeah, it was okay. It was very okay. I have maybe 3 songs in that whole soundtrack that I like. Everything else, I could hear it once and then just kind of move on from it for the rest of my life.
Right.
It's not like 9 where I still listen to that soundtrack to this day because it's so good.
I can listen to it. Put it on my Spotify.
Oh God, listen. Okay, but like Nier soundtrack, please, for the love of God, I need you to get the Nier soundtrack. I have it. I need you to get it. It's so good. I will find it for you. It's on YouTube. Somebody has a whole playlist of it on YouTube.
Well, you've got the email. Send it on over.
I'll send it to you. I got you. But 8 was just... I feel like they took too many risks on 8, and then the story gets really convoluted. And I mean that there's so many theories on the ending, but there's no concrete, like...
I would love to see what the writers room is like. I really would like to see what the hell they didn't even
give us that. They just kind of went, here's this ending. And everybody goes, oh, well, what if Ultimecia, who's the big baddie, is actually Renault in the future because Squall got killed and she went crazy?
Has anybody ever like looked into the writers room? Have they ever...
I'll be honest. I'll be very, very honest. This is the one game that because I don't love it, I don't fall down a rabbit hole looking for too much about it. The one thing I looked up about it was this really intriguing theory about one of the characters I actually like in the game, because there's only maybe 4 characters I like in the game.
Right.
And one of them, whose name is Selphie, Tilmitt, who's one of my favorites, weirdly enough, because she's very perky, and a lot of people are like, I wouldn't think that of you. And I'm like, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. She's just very not a character that I normally would get attached to, but here we are.
You never know.
There was a theory that was backed up by encrypted data that people found later on when they data mined the game.
Data mine that bitch.
Which is where a lot of people data mined, and they found out that she had the strongest spells in the whole game. And I mean the strongest, including her limit break in the game itself. Her limit break, if you knew how to develop it and go fast, you could get her to play a spell that's called The End, which it literally plays like one of those cartoon endings where it's in a field of flowers and butterflies, and then you see the end, that stereotypical cartoon The End, pop up on screen, and it would KO even a lot. It even KO'd a lot of boss characters if you could get it. And the thing is, you would have to get it though, because her limit was called slots. So you would have to kind of go through and see if you could get like a 3-time spell, and then you could bam, 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 3 really powerful spells. She had Ultima. I think she had Meteor. She had like some really intense spells, but then it turns out she had even more spells that could have turned the tide of the game and made her like almost too OP in the game, basically.
Right.
And it led to this theory where people were thinking maybe she was meant to be the sorceress instead of Rinoa, which to me, and a lot of people are like, no, that's been debunked. I know there's a Reddit thread that I read last year that was very intriguing, and some stuff was debunked, and they were like, yeah, no, she wasn't meant to be an actual like sorceress. It was just a thing that they gave her that she had, and there was no explanation to it, like most of the plot of the game, where it was just like, here, take this. We're not going to tell you why. Just go with it. That was pretty much the game. Just go with it. Meanwhile, I'm sitting here going, I can't. I need to know why.
I need to know what happened.
I just literally was like, listen, I need explanations for why all this is happening. It's just dumb. But this character also, to me, in my head, I was wondering if maybe she was also meant to be in the early drafts, the protagonist, because there is a piece of art that is like one of the first pieces of art for this game that Yoshitaka Amano drew, and it is Squall and Selphie sitting in the grass, like on a picnic blanket overlooking the garden that is their military thing. And it's just, if you look at the picture, it says Squall and Selphie. So my theory was like, maybe she was meant, because as you play the game, you start to think to yourself, maybe this is what was supposed to happen. But it didn't, because the producers or, the people who approved the designs or something might have looked at Selphie and said, we like her as a character, we want to keep her, but she's not the stereotypical beauty that we think would attract an audience and go, yes, I want to romance this one. So that's where Rinoa might have come in, and they made her more traditionally like,
that too, and they've also could look
things like that. They made her look
when they write
like,
shit like that. They also look down and they go, okay, where's this taking us in the future too?
Yeah.
Because I don't know if they're 3 years.
I think my theory is they looked at her and they said she's not the kind of pretty that most people who are playing the game will want to.
Yeah, how do we make her number one relatable? And
so they were like, make another character, and then they went with Rinoa and they said, okay, now we got to figure something out for her. But Selphie is this character who the whole game is very perky. She's very she's very optimistic about things. She's very like gung-ho. She has a streak to her, which is funny because she's just like, yeah, love and peace, but also don't fuck with my friends. I will beat the shit out of you. And she does. She blows up a military base because they had blown up her old school. Like when she found out her old school had been like attacked, she looks at Squall and says, I want to blow them up. And Squall says, take a team, go blow them up. And she does. She straight up goes, infiltrates and blows it up. And she also gets rid of these missiles because apparently there are these missiles that are happening. And it's like, oh no, we got to stop the missiles. So Selphie was just kind of like, I get my revenge, but also I deal with the missiles. So she does that.
Yeah.
But she's a character that she's the polar opposite of Squall, but also she knows how to understand him in ways, and she'll kind of talk to him and things. And so in my head, I'm like, I feel like this was the character that was originally intended to kind of pull him out of his shell, because she's such an opposite to him.
Yeah, he's more of an introvert.
He wouldn't have known how to deal, and he would have kind of like, oh, okay, into my space now. But again, this is all theories that I'm throwing out because I'm like, okay, I saw this original art and I'm like, oh, Selphie came before Rinoa and they're in this art together. And also Selphie had the OP magic that, you would think a sorceress has, but it was coded in the game and half of this magic wasn't even used.
It's amazing how many things, like when they do data mining, it's like following some game, and the devs had to come back and go, listen, that actually this poor guy's theory of like a 6-year-old theory to some game, I can't even remember, but the devs came back and was like, hey bro, you're way off. And then they pulled out the old script and they go, dude, you're so off that was just an F up by us. And he's like, huh, what? He's like, we love where you went with it, but that wasn't even the game plan. I felt so bad. I was like, dude, they found all these assets and things, and like that wasn't even the game plan. Here's the actual script, and here's why we changed it to that. The guy that was a test for this character actually to see if we could do it.
I'm gonna send you later this link to the video where somebody explains the data mining and stuff, and it's a YouTube video. It's from Final Fantasy Peasants, who this is just me plugging them. I follow them on Facebook. They have a Facebook group. It's a really great group. They do a lot of myth busting and debunking and theories and stuff. But they have this video on YouTube called FF8 Selphie Tilmitt, a potential sorceress story theory. And it's a really good watch. At least for me, I sat there and I was just very into it for the whole thing.
It's intriguing as hell because you don't know.
It's an almost half an hour theory.
I would love to see what the hell, if the writers ever released their script and said, hey, here's what we did. Or did they read like, a documentary Q&A of like, hey, here's why we did what we did. Here's, some writers do that for the game, but I feel like with Final Fantasy, sadly listening to a lot of the devs that work on it, they're like, yeah, that was like 3 years in the making, and this is what we went with this character, and then the manager came in and said, no, change that because it's not playing to this audience, and yada yada. I wish they would just the devs would just come in and do a Q&A and be like, boom, Yeah. But they never will, and that's kind of sad. I don't, I love that theory of her because it's like we found her, but like, could that been a QA test? Could that been that's a whole other ball game, Yeah. What she had done, we don't know, Yeah. Why was she still in the game, in the dump? You don't know. So I like the theory though.
I think they debunked the idea that Ultimecia is Renoa in the past. Not sure if it was. Maybe. Who knows?
She gets brought up a lot, Renoa. She, like when I deep dive like the other day, guys. I went to some guy had a long video of like Let's Start Vital, and you're like going through it all. You're like, okay.
I just know I was very disappointed with a lot of the characters too, because in 8, a lot of the characters end up kind of relegated to the background. Let me just no. Let me turn on my light. No, you know what? Whatever.
Life right.
Dark Delmarie. This is how we live now. But the problem with 8 is a lot of the characters are with you just because. So Zell and Quistis are with you because they kind of are from your garden. They've gone on missions with you, and they just kind of decide, hey, I'm going to stay and help you. They don't really have any other motive beyond that.
There's nothing there.
Joins you because he's a sharpshooter who gets sent by the other garden to help you out, and then he just kind of decides to stick around. Renoa stays with you because, we have a contract. You're supposed to help me later, and suddenly the fate of the world is, let me help you out with that.
Over here,
but the underlying issue with her is, she's in love with Squall. She stays for him.
Yeah.
So like none of the characters really have much of a development beyond that fought.
Whoops. The internet just keeps dropping, so it's all good.
Zell kind of has that life where you learn he has a mom that adopted him, and he learned to fight from his adoptive grandpa, things like that. You don't really learn about Irvin and Selphie. You learn that she came from another garden. That's it. Like, she's a transfer student. You don't really know their lives beyond that. When 9 came out, that's when it got good, because Final Fantasy 9, each character, you get their background info. You get who they are. You get to see what motivates them, what drives them. And then they have a reason to join you in fighting for the greater good. Everybody else just kind of, in 8, everybody's just tailing along with Squall, and they fade a little into the background. And if you don't use certain characters, like, there are scenes in the game that you don't see their interactions And even if you did, it really it doesn't make a difference. Their interactions with you in cutscenes and things like that, their commentary doesn't make much of a difference because you have to be able to interchange your characters. So like, every character has to have a comment.
Right.
But it doesn't really do much in the long term. Same with the whole plot of Garden. When you finally go back to Garden and you find out, they usurped Sid, who's the commander. And it turns out that Seed is owned by this guy who looks like Jabba the Hutt. And you're just kind of sitting there going, who is this dude? All you're told is, he owns Garden and now he's back and he wants to take control of Garden and screw Sid over. And you're like, where did this guy come from? He's the only person that you see. Like, he looks like he's from a different race, but again, he looks like a very pale Jabba the Hutt. But he's the only character you see in the whole game of that race.
Mm-hmm.
There, you don't even get notes that kind of like, how in Resident Evil you get notes that kind of give you backstory to characters. You don't. The whole premise of this game is, here's this plot, just kind of accept it. Accept that it is, and whatever questions you have, we don't really have answers for.
No, and that's the thing with Final Fantasy though. They don't want to fill in all the blanks. They want you to kind of.
Well, sort of, because even in 9, everybody's a different race, but there's more of them. You go to villages, rat people, in 2 different cities. You go and you see humanoids. You see each character. You can go, there's a race of them around and you see them. It's not like with this guy where you're like, okay, I've only seen you. Where the hell did you come from?
No explanation. Like, what the hell are you?
Yeah. Well, I'm actually going to turn on the light because it's dark.
It looks fine from here, but watch light hit. Oh! I can see you now. You look fine. It looks like more brighter.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I guess like he's like the boss, and it's like I'm your boss now, and yada yada. So
basically he just kind of goes, oh no, yeah, this whole place was mine in the beginning. Sid just kind of was in charge, but I was the one funding this whole place. And you're like, okay, cool, you funded it. But what are you?
Yeah.
Why do you look like Jabba the Hutt?
I mean, in Final Fantasy, like, if saying that to anybody, be like, bitch, you already know. Be in Final Fantasy.
Oh my god.
Nothing looks normal.
I feel like they took too many risks. And of course, having 7 been so popular, and 7 was kind of futuristic, like steampunky, like dark kind of thing, they went with that theme of like, futuristic, but technology advanced, things like that. And it was just very hit or miss depending on what it was in the game.
Right.
The military aspect was okay.
Now we're in a steampunk area, now we're doing this. Like I said, the video that I watched, because the guy, he explains it in under an hour, and it's really deep, and it's like, okay, and he explains some things, and I'm just like, okay, there's very technology oriented, and there's this going on, there's this time warp, and where Noah's doing her thing. It's like, oh, Jesus.
Yeah, and there's just like this whole time compression thing going on.
Yeah, the thing he got brought up, and then the sorceress gave Noah her thing, and
and then it's like, the sorceress, but the sorceress is actually the lady who took care of you. And there's a whole separate branch of Seed that you didn't know existed, that's just to protect her. But then it turns out, she's her, but she also has the sorceress Ultimecia inside her, manipulating her. And then there's this other sorceress called Adele, who when you meet Adele, you're like, is that a chick or a dude? I don't know. Because it looks like a dude, and then it's like, oh no, that's a sorceress, and you're like, wait, what?
Once you get the name, you're like, oh.
And they're like, oh yeah, she's also being held on a lunar base, because she lost her mind and she lost her knight, and that's a whole other thing where the romance, I'm wondering if it's just kind of manipulated, because again, you've got Squall being pressured on all sides by his friends to be like in love with Renoa. Renoa's like, love me. And then on top of that, she eventually accidentally bonds with him when she becomes a sorceress, because I guess sorceresses need a knight, which is somebody that they bond with so they don't go cuckoo cuckoo. And then she just kind of like force bonds Squall, basically, and they just kind of go and Squall, I think Squall explodes at one point. I don't remember very well, but I think he kind of goes like, I didn't ask for any of this, like what the heck.
I don't remember. I think he had a little bit of a meltdown. He had a little bit of a F you kind of thing, and
it just kind of feels like, well, he just kind of has to deal with this lot in his life now, and that was unfair to him. So the fact that it gets sold as a romance just kind of, I don't buy it, you know?
Right. And they kind of force it. Where do you think it's going in the future? Like with Final Fantasy, do you think they're going to kind of go into the story aspect? Are they kind of just trying to cater to an audience, or?
You know, it almost feels like it's mixed, and I'll explain why. With Final Fantasy VII Remake, they're taking the story, and instead of remastering it, they're going, okay, what could we have changed and done better if we wanted to change the story now? And that's what they're doing. They're going a whole other branch to the story, and they're kind of manipulating it into being its own thing, but still within that, what made Final Fantasy VII what it is. And I'm still on the fence because it's still very kind of starting out. Only episode 1. I haven't been able to play or see the DLC because I don't have a PS5. So sad me. So we'll see where that goes. So I'm not going to say yay. I'm not going to say yes or no because it is interesting, but it could be. They could drop the ball at some point in the future episodes. With 16, I don't know the lore. Apparently, it's very beloved. That 14 lore. Is it 14? Oof, watch me get shit from people. I think it's I have no idea. I think it's lore from 12, which was the first online one, and then 14 was the second iteration of the online game. And I've seen like some characters from the online game, and I've gone, okay, I know this character. This is from the online game. I've never played it, but I'll see like a character and be like, oh, I know this race. I have not played it, but I know what the race is.
Right.
So some people are excited because the developers did mention that they're delving deeper into that lore that people enjoy from that series of games. They're going further in, and that's what that game's going to be. It's going to have a lot of lore that if you've played the online games, you're going to know the lore. You're going to see characters and be like, I know this character. I know what they're talking about. Me, I'm not. I have no clue. So who knows? Maybe it'll be a good thing. We'll see. But they're going too many different ways and slapping the name Final Fantasy on it, and I worry about that.
Like I said before,
too many different types of games and going here. It's a Final Fantasy game, and I'm going. I don't know. Like they want to attract too many audiences, and I get it from like a business standpoint, but also I'm worried that they'll start to forget what endears the franchise to people and then just kind of lose themselves along the way, and eventually we're actually going to get a Final Fantasy. So we'll see, because again, I'm not buying the Origin one, that hack and slasher. I'm not buying it too much. I know a lot of people have been disappointed on that FF7 First Soldier game. That's going to be like the 30 years before the Final Fantasy VII storyline. It's literally, it takes place 30 years before that, and it's just like you make your own first class soldier, and it's just this weird hack and slash that can be online. I know I saw a lot of people express severe disappointment in that. And at least for me and my brother, who sat down and watched that kind of preview to it, we both looked at each other and we just kind of said, absolutely nothing from that caught my attention. Yeah. And they're milking Final Fantasy VII for all that it's worth. And I'm worried that, they just kind of go, oh, we're trying to make more money sinks because we need money. But then what they're going to end up doing is just making it worse.
Yeah, I don't know. Speaking to many fans too, and many are just kind of on the fence like you are. And many of my friends that are big Final Fantasy lore fans, and they did this and they're doing that, and it's like at the end, my one friend like just stepped away from it because he's like, it's becoming a cash grab. It's just becoming. Let's not care about the old fans. Let's not go back to the lore that made us what we are, and let's not cater to the old audience. Let's kind of cater to this new audience because we need buku bucks. It's more management wise and stuff like that above their heads. I don't know. Time will tell.
The thing that they haven't considered, and that they've been doing this, and I like that they've been doing it, is that Square Enix as a company itself, I was going to say Squaresoft, and that's like, oof, that's old. Square Enix as a company is, they are branching out into like all these different kinds of games. So you got indie games, you got story-driven games, you got shooter games. They go find indie developers and they'll post trailers on their website and they'll tell their audience like, hey, check out these games. Let us know which one you like the most, and we will back it and bring it to you.
Yeah.
And I think that's good because they are definitely bringing a lot of more interaction with their audience, and they're figuring out what their audience is like.
Which is shocking because many big AAA developers don't do that.
Yeah.
They'll back a small studio for a little bit, but they're like, hey, this is your one shot to shine. If you fuck up, that's it.
Exactly. But I just wish they would take those ideas that they have and, for example, like this new Origin game, why not just make it its own thing, like Bloodborne? Make it looks kind of Bloodborne-esque. You don't have to call it Final Fantasy.
Which is funny because somebody else said the same thing about it. It's very Bloodborne,
but not a Final Fantasy one.
Yeah, like just change the title or something because it's not. And the funny thing, like said Chaos, we're here to stop Chaos, and everybody started laughing at that. And then the demo that just came out, like everybody said they couldn't even fire it up because of a bad batch jump or something like that. You'd fire it up on the PS4 or PS5, and it wouldn't even go. And I'm like, that's not good.
And I worry for the franchise because, again, the games just seem to be declining in popularity. They're taking forever to do them. I really don't want 16 to be what 15 was, which is they took forever to develop it. When it finally came out, they were like, we didn't have a lot of time to deal with the story that we wanted to give, so we're going to give you all DLC. And then what happened in the end? They didn't have the money or the time, so they cut the DLC. So they ended up only having like 3 episodes come out, and then these mini-sodes that were incomplete. And then they even ended up cutting out some characters' DLC stories that they were going to showcase. They just went, yeah, we're not going to do these. We don't have time. We just next project. We're done.
Right. Yeah,
and I'm worried that that's what's going to happen with 16. They're just not going to have time to finish it. It's going to be incomplete. They're going to be like, oh, we have a lot of stories, or they're going to do what happened. And this is a pattern. This is a pattern because they did it with 15 and Ollie. They're doing it with Avengers, are they not? Where they gave us an incomplete game.
Well,
and then they had DLC, and it's taking forever. And I wouldn't be surprised if at one point they just go, hey, we're going to have to cancel half of the episodes or half of the DLC that we had planned. It's going to have to get canceled because there's just no audience for this game anymore.
Yeah, the thing that got brought up the other day on Young Yaz channel, he brought up a really good freaking topic, is that nobody wants to fall down. Like, God of War right now is going through a more development than everything, and people are like, hey, we saw what happened with Cyberpunk 2077. Like, don't rush it. Like, take your time. And developers, sadly, they're, if you look at the stock market, which I deal in the stock market with games and shit like that, it's hell. And I have, like I said, I have friends that are developers, like literally game developers, and they've told me some inside shit, and it's rough. It's rough to get your financing. It's rough to get your, okay, you only have this many months to build this, and then, people want to see profit. That's all they ever want to see. I run a business. That's all you want to see is profit. And it kills the fans, it kills the industry, it kills everything. And then you're sitting there going at a Q&A at like a fucking E3 going, I worked on this game and this is what we wanted to give you, but we were told crunch time. We have 6 months, 2 weeks, what have you. But I think everybody's hitting that moment of, oh, holy shit, look what happened to Cyberpunk. We don't need that. Look what happened. And like Sony Santa Monica, who is part of Sony, with God of War, whatever the hell it's Ragnarok or whatever it's going to be, for that dev to step up and go, F you. If anybody, you should be mad at anybody, it should be me, because I'm making sure this is the best game possible, because we don't need to have another F up. Who cares about the money right now? We need to make sure this game is polished. The thing, and it sucks that a lot of developers have to stop and go, shit, we wanted to do that, we wanted to do this. Let's put it in DLC in the next 6 months, but it's going to be incomplete. Let's rush this out the door. We can always patch it. The day one patch is always a big thing. And I don't know. And COVID's a big thing with it too, man. COVID has really effed a lot of developers, that I've read on either on Twitter or Reddit or wherever I read my stuff. And a lot of them have said, hey, man, I had to drop my job because I have a family and we wanted to tell the story, but it all comes down to financing, and you guys aren't willing to be patient or whatever. Then it comes up to the big higher ups that run the company and go, hey, man, we need to make money, push it. And I feel that's where, us as gamers really hurt too, because we really want to support these developers, but it all comes down to the presidents of the company and CEOs and executives that are like, listen, man, either we push this shit out or we go bankrupt, so what do you want to do?
And I worry that they get too ambitious, because that's the pattern I'm noticing. They get really ambitious. They want to throw out 1 billion episodes to something because they want a money sink, but then they don't even deliver on half of what they promised.
You know they're not. They'll put up that one episode of like, okay, guys, well, here's that one episode you wanted, and then like the second episode, we'll leave you a taste. The second one it's okay, but it's kind of dry, and the third one's where they drop, and you're like, I'm backing out of this. But they're trying to get you to buy that DLC package, because from now on you can't return that shit. You can't go to Sony or Microsoft and go, hey man, I want a return policy. And you look at it, and I have friends who bought DLC packages and goes, hey man, how was it? And they went, bro, I can't even return it because it has a Sony no return policy. And you paid the dev, and the dev's like, hey man, we did what we did, and
yep.
But it's not even the dev's fault, because it's the manager's fault that runs the stupid thing. Says, hey, push. We have shareholders to meet. We have this person to meet, or this indie publisher or whoever we need to talk to it. Mm-hmm. I hate to say it's killing the industry, but like Del said, it is what it is.
It's also giving them a bad rep at this point, because it's becoming a pattern. They did it with 15. They're doing it with Avengers.
Avengers.
Some of the games that have been coming out are lackluster. Mm-hmm. A lot of these new trailers that are coming out for Square Enix, not all of them, but a lot of them are just kind of not really saying anything. They're disappointing. I feel like the only good step they're taking right now is the Nier Mobile game, and the trailer already mentioned.
Well, the funny part is they showed gameplay, and I'm glad they're starting to show
entry
gameplay
in a series.
Trailer.
Well, the trailer showed some gameplay. It's going to be a little hack and slasher.
Yeah, that's what you want.
It's not a bad look to the game. But it did worry me that it said, "Oh, this is the first mobile entry into a series." And when I heard that, I went, "Oh, are we going to get like another series that just kind of halfway disappears because they forget to deal with it, or they forget to finish it?"
But they're trying to get your beak wet, and they're trying to get let's get people to buy. Let's get them, like I said, let's get them on the first thing, and knowing that they can't return it, let's lock them into that first episode. They're going to pay that $29.95. We'll put out some lackluster content. Episode 2 will be great, but episode 3 not so good. And it's that same rabbit hole that keeps happening. I don't know why it started happening. I don't know when it started happening. But I know a lot of indie developers now, and it's been all over Twitter, and I've been following Cyberpunk because I wanted Cyberpunk to be good. It's a good game when you really get into it. It's just they need to polish it. I would have been glad if they just sat down and polished it, because the way the game's cool to me, and then talking to the game designer and the guy who built the storyboard game, or the game, I didn't even know it was a book and it was this and this, but like nobody's trying to be a CD Projekt Red. They're really trying to, oh shit, look what happened to CD Projekt, and look what happened to EA. EA just got hacked, and there was a batch dump with source code and yada yada. So what do we do? Do we can wait, and do we spend more money that we don't have, or do we start putting this out?
Do we take a risk on a game that runs the risk of not even finishing, and so you're spending money on a game thinking, like with Avengers, you spent if you went in day one, you went in expecting to pay this money for a game that was like not complete at the moment, but you were going to get a lot of extra content. You started getting content a little bit, and then suddenly it stopped. There's like several delays. You get a little bit of content, another delay, a little bit more content, nothing substantial. You're just kind of going, oop. And then the same thing happened with Final Fantasy 15. That happened with Avengers, which is the price just tanked in weeks. And I mean, that's the fastest I've seen a Final Fantasy game drop in price. Normally they'll start dropping when it's a classic.
Right.
And, you start getting like the $40 and then suddenly the $20. And then it doesn't go down from 20 unless it's a pre-owned.
Yeah.
But with 15, I've seen it go down to $10.
Wow.
Like I saw it like literally, I think it came out and I was working GameStop at the time. I want to say like a month in, if even a month, the price just started dropping and dropping and dropping. And I'm like, oh, that means this isn't good. And then I started hearing about like, hey, it's incomplete. Hey, there's a bunch of DLC, but it's being pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. And then you start getting DLC and they go, hey, we're going to have to cut down on the episodes of DLC because we just don't have the manpower for it right now. And the company just doesn't care anymore.
Well, it's amazing when a game comes out, and speaking to some of my friends who are devs and work for more indie, once they're done, like once the game is out, they lose about 15% of their staff. Like that staff is already on the next project. Your person comes in, your manager convinces, hey, once you're done with level 1, you're coming over to new project X or Z. And I'm like, they just grab you and they're like, dude, they'll send you an email saying you got to go work on this. Like sometimes you'll get pulled mid-project. And I'm like, that. And that's becoming a big thing. And like a lot of like Stadia, Google Stadia, and a lot of these big companies, it's like money. Like let's quickly get cash. And sadly, I'm not blaming devs by any stretch of imagination, because I know what it's like. I have friends that are devs, and once you're done with that project, once your 6-month contract runs up, it's like, okay, it's out, and then you're stuck with a team of 15 to maybe 10 that are responsible for the DLC, the rest of the expansion, the rest of the patches. Unless it's like, oh my god moment, like CD Projekt Red, like they had to bring people back to fix. And like Sony Santa Monica just brought up with God of War, is like, we're not ready. This game isn't polished to our liking. So sit back, relax. We just brought a team back. Like we just pulled the team back in. And I feel like it's becoming the norm of like, we can do day one patch. That's not going to do anything. But it really kills, I hate to say it really does kill the industry, because you want to love something, and you really, that $60, when that's $60 or that's $70 now, it's going to be $70 because certain games with Sony have been announced that of like, hey, this game's going to be $70 out the gate no matter what, and it hurts as a person that's on a budget, because me and Del are on budget, so it's like you maybe get 1 or 2 games that you really want, it's like you're not made of money, so it's like you go out and you spend that 60, and then you're like, okay, I bought the $60 game, what am I getting? And then you're finding out, oh my god, it's really broken, or and then sadly what you hear on Twitter, because it's now an open market, is you hear all the devs leaving and saying, listen man, I'm done. I stepped away 3 weeks ago from this game and I will never see it again. I will never look at this developer again. And you hear all the horror stories of why the game tanked, and the story direction, or the head writer was pissed off at this thing, so he jumped ship to another project. Or it's horrible. Like it's horrible that now we can see that personally. But what the hell can we do? We're only gamers, speaking our
we only give an opinion, and even then we try to respect the developers and the people who work on these projects while giving our opinions, because obviously I'm never going to give an opinion about, oh, this game took too long to come out, or oh, this game, like I don't know. I don't feel like that's a comment that needs to be made, and people who get upset because a game is taking longer need to chill.
It's
because it's not easy, and sometimes it's better to wait for a good product than not. But I will, however, comment when like they take forever on a game and then the end product that we're given is not up to par with what, you know, they should have been giving us. And this is not Cyberpunk, because I know that they had been pushing it back and they were reluctant, and they ended up finally giving it to us reluctantly.
Right.
With 15, it was just more, here you go. There's going to be more content. Oops.
Right.
No more content. And same thing with Avengers. Here you go. You're going to get content really quickly. Here's the schedule of the content coming out.
And
suddenly it's backed up. And I get it. You get bugs happen and whatnot, but it just kept getting pushed back and kept. And then when they finally come out with a product, it's very subpar. And it's like, for the amount of times you backed it up, it should have been cleaner and better than what you gave us.
Yeah, and it all comes down to management too. At the same time, you sit there and you go, I don't know anymore. I'm hoping Avengers is going to get better. I don't think it will, sadly. Guardians looks like it's going to be. I
want to hope it's good.
I mean, Wakanda looks good. That looks like it's going to be something, but I think that's their last hurrah.
I'll admit, I liked the story. If anything, the game is worth it for the story mode. Like when you start unlocking characters and whatnot, it's a good story. Like the way they told the game story is good. It's just when you have to start doing the shield missions and the multiplayer aspects where it gets a little repetitive because there's not a lot of options yet, and it just kind of gets like, okay, I need something new. I'm real done. I'm done.
Yeah, that was us with Destiny. My bro Mike Pernisco, who built the logo. And Michael, thank you for building the logo, and you did a little something special that these guys will see for the very first time when I get done editing this one. You know, I was Destiny done, and Pernisco went out and spent an extra like $100 on me just to get back into it with him. And I'm like, dude, what the? He's like, you're welcome. As long as you play with me, play with me. And I'm like, I did some of the missions with him. We did some of the story mode and some of the DLC. And you know, it sucks. You know that this stuff happens, but I'm hoping, you know, they get their shit together. And like, I think Guardians is going to be a fun one. It's single player, so it's going to be obviously good. I mean, they're obviously going to polish it, clean it up. It sucks that Final Fantasy was that for you, and even when you were working at GameStop, when you saw that drop, were you like, holy shit?
I was curious because it, you know, everybody was talking about how it's so pretty and it's so different, and here's this Final Fantasy that decided to go, hey, we're going to take a risk and make 4 male protagonists, and that's mostly what you get. Like, you have females in the game, but this is your quad. This is what you got.
Get more sausage than anything.
And I thought, but the thing is, I had a feeling because I played the demo when the demo came out, and it was so confusing because you don't really get any story stuff except like at the beginning where Noctis is dreaming and you have Carbuncle show up, and then suddenly you wake up and you walk through a forest and it goes, hi, pick up these useless things that you're not really going to use. And then you leave the little cave map, and then you're suddenly in a house and you're like what, 3 inches tall. And then there's like these toy cars that you can magically morph up, and then you just kind of climb things, and that's it. And there's really no set anything to it. And I just kind of sat there going, what even is this game? I'm concerned and confused. And I didn't know how I felt. And then I found out, I think the Noctis trailer was recycled from what was supposed to be a versus game or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
100%. I would have to deep dive further into that game. But I know I was interested in the game, but I told myself, I'll wait until it drops to a classic. But then it just started dropping instead of to a classic, just dropping. And I had considered getting it full price because it had a really pretty tin version, and I was like, "Ooh, I like this tin."
Yeah.
But then when I started seeing it drop, I thought, "Oh, it's not doing good." And I have friends that are obsessed with this game. They will defend it to the end. They love this game. And I'm not saying don't love this game. I'm not saying don't, because everybody's entitled to loving what they love. I love Final Fantasy 9, and I know a lot of people who don't really like 9. They think it's too childish looking, and it's just, not in the vein of what they like for Final Fantasy. But again, these are people also who you started hopping on to Final Fantasy when it was 7. And so their bar was this sort of steampunky futuristic game, and suddenly here comes this bubbly old school medieval-esque like fantasy game called 9. And they were just like, what do I do with this? And 9 was more in the vein of the old school games. So if you didn't know anything before 7, it really didn't do much for you. So I'm not saying don't love these games. I'm just saying from a me viewpoint, it was lackluster. Even the story aspect to me was just kind of like it would get interesting at certain points because of the political intrigue and the kingdoms and yada yada. But then there were times where it would just get really tedious, and they took all these risks where like the female protagonist that you think is the protagonist, because you're like, oh, it's the love interest of the protagonist. You're eventually going to meet her. She dies. And you're like, oh, okay. And all these things happen, and they wanted to set up 15 really well, and I get it. 15 had a movie that was a prequel to everything that was happening in the game, and then 15 came out with like these novels which are supposed to tell you even more about it. And I'm pretty sure they wanted to come up with more things, but it just came out to bad timing and dropping the ball on certain aspects, and it just did not hit the way it should have hit.
Yeah, resonate the way it wanted to hit.
And I feel like that's kind of, it's been setting the bar for everything that's going to come. Because again, 16 people who play the online MMO are excited for it. And I get that. And I would honestly love in the comments or in an email, whoever plays the online game. And I know people from work who've played the online game, and I know people from my Facebook who play the online game still to this day. I can't money sink into it, but please sit down with me, talk with me about this game. Maybe I'll get excited for it. But, I hope that these people who are excited for it, I really, really hope that this game ends up being what they expect it to be and what they want it to be. And for it not to just be pretty, because 15 was pretty. It was a pretty game.
It was graphically beautiful.
That's mostly all I can say about it. And that's the sad part.
I heard it was like it was the only game I looked at myself and I'm like, that's getting pretty. I'd play that. Then I got into it. I'm like,
It didn't grab my attention. And that's happened with certain games. Again, that happened with 8. 8 was okay for a little while. And then after a few hours in, I would put it down and I would forget it for weeks. And then I'd come back and be like, God, what was I doing? I don't even remember. Like when I play a game, I want to be able to, yes, put it down because we all have lives, but I want to be able to put it down with the intention of picking it back up as soon as I can, because I'm really interested and I'm excited to pick it back up. And that when I pick it up again, I remember what I was doing, because it just grips me and intrigues me enough to want to do that, to remember what's happening. 7 Remake is a game that I have yet to finish. I refuse to look up spoilers online still, because I'm like, you know what, I'm going to get through this. But it's a game that I've put down and I haven't, and I barely touched. Like I'll put it down and I won't touch it for a month, and then I'll pick it back up and I will forget how to play it. I'll be like, oh God, how did I do this? What was going on? How is this? Like, it's like, I want to love it, but I still haven't reached that point where it's gripped me. And it could be several things. It could just be like a me thing. Maybe I don't connect with the story. It could be that I expected more nostalgia and I'm not getting as much nostalgia as I thought it was. It could be so many different factors. Yeah. But I would love for Final Fantasy to give me, I would love for Square to give me a Final Fantasy that makes me feel like Final Fantasy IX makes me feel, which is that I'm replaying it on Twitch for the third time, I think, or the second time. I don't know. But like in general, it's a game that I'm replaying for about the 10th time because I just love it that much.
Yeah, you love the lore, you love the story, you love the way it made you.
And it doesn't, and I don't get tired of it. I don't get tired of it.
I think that's, that's the hard part for a dev too. The dev is like, it's like, what do we do? And they want to push on to the next thing. And hopefully they can bring that. I think they're in that remastered zone where like they may remaster it again, but only time will tell. Like you said, they're trying to cater to another audience, and times are changing. So I think it's also us too, as nostalgia. It's like we can't give you that nostalgia that you had.
We're gamers from one era, and gaming is evolving. People want more immediate gratification, which is just a general thing. They just want, to finish a game faster. Back in the day, we wanted games that you could spend longer on, because if you're, paying money, you want to get your money's worth. You want to delve into a game and spend hours on it. Nowadays, people want to purchase a game, but they want this game to be done in like 20 hours. They want to get it in and out, trade it in, get the next best thing, like in a week. Yeah. And it's evolving. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying we're thinking on one level. The newer gamer generation is thinking on a different level.
Newer gamer generation.
We could all learn from each other.
Yeah, the newer gamer generation I've seen in my time, because I grew up on Atari and stuff like that. I'm a story-driven guy. I like RPGs. I like shooters are my thing too. When I want a little bit of Ollie time, or I'm having a rough day at Grand Theft Auto, and everybody saying that's their cup of tea, but some people watch me play Grand Theft Auto were like, I see why you play this. I'm like, it's very relaxing. I can kill somebody without repercussion. And they're like,
I never got into Grand Theft Auto, but I have, and I want to know from our listeners or our viewers, what game, because I know we all have this, and we could deep dive into this later, but everybody has this game that you relax to, or that like you de-stress to, and you're talking about GTA. That's your de-stressor, I'm sure. For me,
that one and a few others, I think I have 3 that are my go-tos.
So for me, I had 2. The original de-stressor was Dynasty Warriors, because nothing felt better than standing in the middle of a giant crowd of AI soldiers that are just kind of like standing in front of, like huddling, like just you just get this like pile of like 50 soldiers on you, and then you just unleash an area attack, and you hear the pop, 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 pop of people just dying, and it sounds like popcorn, and it's so good. And I just would stand there and be like, yes, death. And then after I got out of Dynasty Warriors, because it evolved, and I was like, the newer ones are okay, but I don't have money for Dynasty Warriors. The ones that came after that were cheaper for me to afford were Lego games. So my other thing was, I get stressed, play a Lego game, go into a level, destroy absolutely everything I can destroy in a room before I even move on to the next room. Like, I would not leave a room until everything that I could smash was smashed. And my brother would be like, come on, let's move. And I'm like, no, I want to smash everything. I need all the money, all of the money. And I would leave the rooms bare. And then I'd be like, okay, now we can move. But I would love to hear from our viewers, like, what's your de-stressor game? If you play Final Fantasy, what's your fave? Give me more on this online Final Fantasy lore. Like, point us in the right direction so we can start doing some research and seeing if like, maybe that's our cup of tea.
I barely play Final Fantasy, so you guys are like, you can suck, and you don't know. Like, dude, I don't know, and I'm very honest that I don't play a lot of it. That's why when you look at the logo, it has that brain logo of us collaborating. She's putting shit in my head, and vice versa. So we're learning. And that's the one thing. Don't push somebody away because
and you don't have to play a game to know about the game. You can do like where I don't play a single Resident Evil, but I know the lore because I watch other people play it because I love the lore.
That's the thing. It's like ignorance is bliss. At the same time, encourage people to want to learn. Bring them into your circle. Somebody goes, "What's this about?" And I have friends that come in and go, "Why do you like Spyro? Why do you like racing games? What does this Why do you like VR? Why are you playing Beat Sabers? What the hell is that doing? And Beat Sabers is another one that I like to play that relaxes. It's really good for your health, and it relaxes the hell out of you.
But, meanwhile, I can't play Beat Sabers to save my life because I have extreme anxiety and mild ADD, and I see that game and I immediately panic once it starts to speed up at me.
It's so much fun. It's so much fun. Just don't play it on expert.
For you, it's relaxing. For me, it's like, nah, I'm good. I'll watch you. It's fine. But I'm not.
It's like me climbing that damn Hell Tower again. But
oh my god,
yeah, Hell Tower was fun. That video's on our
oh
page.
God, Hell Tower.
I mean, I got it twice, but I'm proud of myself.
There you go.
I'm also broken on the inside. But yeah, man, like send us things that you guys love. You know, it's okay to
send us ideas for future podcasts. I know I might have somebody that I want to bring in to talk with, who's also a Twitch streamer later on at some point.
Yeah.
But like, send us what you would like us to talk about.
Yeah,
and we will definitely look into it.
Yeah, we forget some things, and life
doesn't have to be gaming. Doesn't have to be gaming. Give us other things. We're good.
Check out a show. Whatever, you know, like this podcast is so open, and you might see some VR from me, or a 3D print file that I'm doing, or maybe a game idea, or something that we're like, hey, that would be a cool idea for this. Why did you print that, or whatever? I don't know. Print
me a Final Fantasy figure, and I will cry.
Oh God.
Or a Witcher. I'm still waiting for my Witcher stuff. I need me some Witcher 3D prints. Then I will paint them.
This is the stuff
I need me a bust of Geralt. I just need a Geralt bust. That's all I really want. To be fair, that's literally all I really want.
Like send it to you and just on a platter.
Maybe his wolf head. Be great. Little wolf.
I don't know. We found a few things, and then we're like, hey, what about this? And she's like texting me at like 1 a.m, and she's like, this and this and this, and I'm like, you know, I wish that would cost you for me to do. Listen, but you know how I work, right?
I don't care, because then I get to promote your stuff anyway, so it all works in the end.
She's like, but you do for me. You do for me.
Listen, I pay you, and I also paint for you. It's fine. It's fine.
It's fine. I know your friend. We could have done for you. Yeah, it's a lot of stuff, and it's like, you know, this was a Final Fantasy rant. I wanted her to. That was one of her main topics for this one was what we're talking about. I'm like, well, we got E3 we missed out on, and then last week we missed out on the Final Fantasy rant and why you didn't like it, stuff like that.
Well, why I didn't like the certain Final Fantasy. We can do more episodes with all the other Final Fantasies and talk about. But you gotta do some research too, because it's a lot. It's a few. It's quite a few.
There's a lot. The one video I watched, and it is a long one. It's about 2 hours long. He goes through all the damn lore of every single one that was built and why it was built, and I'm like, holy. Yeah, there's a lot. So you really, I mean, we might get some weird comments, but it's all good, man. Like, we need it.
Yeah.
Same time, like, yeah, we need that. But people complain also, but they're like, what takes you so long to edit it? It's like, dude, have you ever edited anything? It's like, no. Have you created? No. Well, start creating something and let me know how long it takes you.
Exactly.
You know? So exactly. But it's been a blast, guys. I want to thank everybody who's subscribed or going to subscribe, or just, you know, we really appreciate you guys, everybody who's been on the Facebook page. I'll do a weekly video to welcome you in or whatever like that. Del might hop on to do a video or whatever, but it is what it is. We're going to keep moving and going forward.
Check us out on Twitch. We're on there occasionally. I'm going to try and be more active. I know I've been very off the ball lately, and I've been doing my replay of Final Fantasy 9. And I got to finish Ni no Kuni, the first one. And I got to start Nier. So, you know, keep an eye out on that if you want to see me play some games. I've also got to do Little Nightmares 2, which I might actually see if I can convince my little brother to sit with me, and we can do a stream of like both of us talking with Little Nightmares 2, try and play it. So that might be a thing. But yeah,
we also need to finish up.
Help me afford a better microphone, you guys. Help me help you.
But we really appreciate you guys for everything, and you know, like I said, we got a donation thing, and you don't have to donate if you don't want to, but if you want to, we're not going to do a Patreon thing. that's a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Within itself, and
we could eventually, if we ever get like a big enough, we'll definitely consider a Patreon.
Yeah, that's a pain in the butt by itself. Just making more stuff. The content itself is really where the bread and butter is, and
Well, we could always offer exclusive content.
True.
On the Patreon, because I've seen several creators do that, where they have exclusive videos and content and live Q&As and things like that. We could always offer something like that. But again, that once we get a bigger
following, one step at a time,
we'll sit here and consider, what you guys want and what benefits everyone in the long term.
Right. But I think we're going to sign it off here, guys. It's almost 8 o'clock, and I do have to get going on my little thing. It has been a blast having you guys on. Thank you for clicking that like button, that subscribe button, that play button, and couldn't do this without Del, man. With her, like giving her this idea, let's do it, and she's been on the ball. It's so let's see what the future holds. So that's been a blessing. It's been awesome, and looking forward to the next one. We'll see.
And as always, guys, remember, don't stay up too late.
Maybe. Turn on your alarm clock. Talk to you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.